Have you ever thought of a clever name for a porn parody of Pokemon? Okay, better yet, have you ever found any of the characters hot in Pokemon? You ever had fantasies?
Was I a human male in the fucking 2000s? Of course I've looked up Pokemon porn. Are you crazy? Nurse Joy, get out of here, those big luscious maps. Shit. Misty, are you kidding me?
So who was your favorite character then?
Are you talking sexually or in general?
Oh, come on, sexually.
Misty, man. She was a total babe.
Misty, huh?
She was a total babe.
Yeah, no, I was always an Officer Jenny guy.
Yeah?
She was like so take charge, so like just up in your face.
Well, she was an officer.
But then she also had that like the spiky hair with the ponytail in the back. It's like, oh.
Well, to be fair, it was a cartoon in the fucking 90s and stuff. Thousands, of course. Every character had spiky fucking hair.
That is true. That's true. It was kind of like the early days of anime, like in Western or for Western audiences.
Yeah. What about you, Kevin?
Always Misty.
Oh,
Always
yeah. Yeah, buddy. Eskimo Bros. Speaking of Alaskan popsicles or whatever.
You can even go French. Eiffel Tower.
Oh yeah, Misty, man. That's the move.
I think he's regretting this opening already.
No, I'm just thinking about the London Bridge. You can say anything at this point.
I'd pound that cloister. Lick a tongue that cloister all day long. Blah.
Andy Cast Harden. String shot. It's super.
String shot. Oh my god, my speed. my speed.
Oh god, that was funny.
Harden wore off.
Defense drop. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Oh, that was funny.
Thought of another one. Andy and Paul use double team.
Double evasiveness.
Oh, don't worry. I'm swift.
Oh man.
Thunder punch right in your shoulder.
Oh my god,
Fucking
there's so many
terrible, man.
moves that work for it.
Oh yeah, it's
Hydro Cannon go.
I'll give her the hydro pump. Oh, I'd give Misty the hydro pump.
Yeah, right.
All
This is
right,
more
Oh,
of a
I'd
minimize.
I'd waterfall all over her.
Oh
Could
man.
go for days. So many moves.
All right.
Here we go. Oh, whoa! Welcome back to another Power Trip Gaming Powercast
Welcome back to the Powercast, where you're listening with
power.
Why did you have to take that away from me? I let you do the whole opening, and I just wanted to say the one line, and you still talked over me.
Because we always say Powercast at the same time. I love your Two Dudes in an S shirt, by the way, buddy.
Oh, they're great.
They are great, man.
If you aren't listening to Two Dudes in an S,
Oh
you need
my
to start
God.
listening to Two Dudes in an S.
That's right. We recently just did a episode with them. An episode, excuse me.
Thank you very
Let's
much.
be
for
grammatically
your-
correct.
Yes, thank you.
We did Gargoyles Quest 2.
We did.
The Demon Darkness.
It's a fantastic game by Capcom. If you haven't played it, I encourage you to check out our playthrough of it on the channel, Power Trip
Absolutely.
Gaming, and check out Gargoyles Quest 2.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good podcast. They're always fun to hang out with. So give them a listen. Obviously, you're listening to us already, so I'm going to tell you to.
Thank you for listening to us.
Oh, yeah. And of course, Kevin is here because what would a Powercast be without,
Can't prove it.
Kevin?
He's not here, though, because we can't prove it.
Can't prove it.
Can't
This
prove
is a
it.
recording.
He phoned it in. We told him, just record a bunch of sound bites. I'll put them in later.
Sorry.
So, today,
We're talking about the same thing we always talk about. Pokemon.
yeah,
It's true.
Does happen a lot.
Every time I would be here, and Paul would be playing game, Paul wouldn't know what the hell to talk about, so Ian and I would talk about Pokemon. We even got made fun of for talking about Pokemon all the time.
I remember
God,
that happened.
yeah.
I remember it happened a lot on Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Playing through that. We're always talking about Pokemon.
That guy didn't care for that too much because he's never played him.
Kind of a bad habit and a go-to topic for us with certain things.
Well, Pokemon was such a huge part of our lives growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. I remember learning about it for the first time in 1998. I saw the TV show. And then the card game, I remember packs of the Pokemon cards. I remember them on Target store shelves in January of 1999. And then it was in February. Well, I think I knew about the game back in 1998, but I didn't pick up the game, my first game, until February of 1999.
You want to talk about dating myself? I bought the Pokemon card game starter set. It came with, it was like Machamp or whatever. And all that.
Yeah.
I bought it at a Blockbuster.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
My
that's
brother and I
amazing.
would walk to the local Blockbuster and we would buy Pokemon decks and cards there.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Software Etc.
Honestly, I think I got my first one with like Software Etc.
Yep.
I bought like some of the booster packs and then a starter deck.
Yep. Electronics Boutique sold them.
Well, it's awesome. My first 3 packs of Pokemon cards that I ever got were the base set that came out, first edition, and they came in like the blister packs, like where they had the cardboard and stuff like that, and so it was absolutely amazing.
With Paul's luck, he pulled nothing but, what was it, Gengar?
No, actually, thank God Gengar was not in the first
that
set.
wasn't for another couple sets yet. That was all fossil.
No, I was able to pull a first edition holofoil though. Raichu was my first ever pull. Yeah.
Don't you wish you had a first edition Charizard?
Yeah.
Whew.
That thing's still pretty expensive. So.
Yeah. But we'll talk about those a little bit later. But for right now, let's start with the games. Oh my God, what a wonderland those games truly were.
I pumped so many hours into the first generation games.
What was your first game for the Game Boy? I first played it on a Game Boy Pocket. I had blue.
Yeah, I first played it on a Game Boy, and I had blue as well.
Well, of course
Blue
you
was-
played it on a Game Boy, idiot.
Well, you said Game Boy Color. You played it on.
No, I had a Game Boy Pocket.
Oh, Game Boy
No,
Pocket.
I had the old school Game
the
Boy.
brick?
Yeah, I had the
And then
brick
I
too.
had gotten Red as my copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had the fire Pokemon on the front, and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, that one's the badass. That's the one I want.
Well, I remember playing it from somebody at school who had the game. He had red, and so then I wanted to go out and I wanted to get blue.
Of course.
But I also loved Squirrel was one of my favorite characters from the get go. So
That's
so his evolution, obviously Wartortle and Blastoise. Stop it.
Let's not allude to the opening.
I
Anyway,
can't help it.
he's my favorite. He's absolutely adorable, and so I ended up getting that one. And I can remember too. I still actually in my I have the game complete, like with the box and everything, and I remember throwing the receipt into the box, and so I still have it. And February of 1999 is when I picked
The
up.
thermal paper hasn't faded yet?
It has started fading.
Okay.
Oh, very much so.
I'm
Let's
surprised
see.
that it's not gone by now, because
Yeah,
usually
no,
they're
it's-
gone by this point.
Yeah.
Wasn't
no,
it if you
it's-
keep it dark or keep it closed off somewhere out of light?
Oh, is that what causes it? I've never actually...
maybe that's what it is.
I mean, it's thermal, so I would assume so, but I could be wrong.
I just
So,
thought they just naturally broke down over time.
No
Yeah.
idea.
well,
I
I haven't looked at it in a long time, so maybe it actually is broken down.
Your first one was yellow.
No,
Maybe not.
no.
When
Oh
did
no, it
yellow
was blue.
come out? I'm an idiot.
October of 1999, I believe.
Guess what?
What?
Maybe. Oh, that's right. 98. Yellow, red, and blue.
We didn't get
no.
yellow until...
It did not. It did not come out in 1998. It came out in
Look at
1999.
staggered US releases.
Oh, you're right. 99. I'm sorry. 98 for Japan.
Why?
September. Wow, we didn't get it for about a whole year afterwards.
Yeah, but we didn't also get Pokemon for 2 years before Japan got theirs. They started theirs in 1996. We didn't get them until 1998.
Oh yeah, that's true. I wonder,
So-
and they also they had 3 different games.
Green.
They did.
They had-
Yeah.
Red, green, and blue.
Yes.
Wow. But yeah, it was. I had Blastoise, or not Blastoise. I had blue. Do you recall what your first starter was? When you first plugged that game in, let me guess. Square. No?
You went Venusaur, didn't you? Really? You went like I did, Charmander all the way to fire type.
No, I chose Bulbasaur the first time, like an idiot.
You chose easy mode.
I was
what
going to
he
say,
said.
that's pretty much what easy mode was, because with Bulbasaur, you could get the first 2 badges right off the bat.
Although it's kind of funny because in the like the remakes for like Fire Red and Leaf Green, Charmander, well, eventually when he evolves into Charmeleon, learns Metal Claw,
Yep.
so you can actually just destroy Brock with
Yep.
Charmeleon.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so easy to get him to level up at the beginning there.
Yeah, Steel's super effective on Rock, so it just destroys it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's still cabbage against Misty.
Well, yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, water against fire is never a
No.
good bet.
So I would assume people know what the fuck Pokemon is, because it's one of the most powerful IPs on the planet.
I would think so, because, I mean, honestly, Pokemon is... I remember in 1998 when it took the world by storm.
Truly
And
did, man. Game Freak
it-
knocked it out.
Anybody who was between the ages of, God, 5 and 25, I would say, they knew what Pokemon was. And
Even
they were,
the adults of the kids knew what it was because
Oh, yeah.
they had to go buy all this
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'd say, to be honest, this is one of those. It's one of the franchises that I think like surpasses like being an iconic thing because like even Mario was like super big and popular with NES and Super NES stuff like that, but like yeah, he had his like cartoons and a few like side things, but when Pokemon, it was like, you know, games, then cartoons, then card games, then the merchandise. It surpassed like everything as far as what you could buy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how I knew that it was like it was more than just like a cultural phenomenon. It was a global phenomenon where
Oh, yeah.
you have things that happen in like each decade where it's like that just kind of shook the waves of everything. So, like in 1977, Star Wars came out. That gripped the entire nation. It gripped the entire world. Sci-fi was just on top of the world. You could see the toys were all in the stores. They started making comic books. They started making books about it. So it became this huge thing. You have something like in the 80s, you have like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they had the toys, then they had the TV show, then they did the movies. They did, well, the comic books came first, then the toys, then the show, then the movies. All this stuff, everybody knew it. There was Turtle Mania all over the place. Then in the 90s, you had something like Pokemon, where you had the games, you had the card game, you had the cartoon, you had the comic books, you had the books that people were doing, and then soon in 1999, I believe it was, or 2000, they had the movie. They started doing movies, and so it just really became that global phenomenon where I think the last time that we've ever experienced something like this, and make fun of me if you want, but like something like Frozen. Honestly, like that has. Well, I'm just saying.
I've
like,
still never seen it.
I've
never seen it
I don't
either.
even think that's even close to what Pokemon did.
But I mean, it was a movie that just captured everybody. It did over $1 billion in movie sales, global sales, and you had marketing up the yin yang for it, and just licensing all this other stuff. But like Pokemon was. That was that generation's, like, it was all over the place. You could not escape it.
And it's one of those things, too, like, especially in the world of gaming, Japan always gets the games first. And then they decide if they want to bring them here.
Yep.
So Pokemon is that weird anomaly where the past few generations or so, they've done global releases. It's everybody gets it at the same time.
So that nobody's
ahead.
Yeah, nobody's ahead of the curve at any given point.
Because I remember when what generation was it? Black and White, maybe? It was either Black and White or X and Y. When I remember when I first saw that there was another generation, I was looking up the starters and they had said when the release date was, they said worldwide on such and such. And I was like, oh my god, like that's never happened before, you know? So it was such a cool thing to see that they're like releasing everything for everybody right away. You know, you don't have those people that always constantly look for, you know, oh, this is going to be in it, this is going to be in it before we even get it. And it's like that, because that always ruins the surprise for me. Like when people start posting leaks and shit like that. But, you know, you're right, it's a phenomenon that still hasn't died down. That is a system seller. People buy 3DSs and stuff for Pokemon.
Look at Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah.
They're, from what I understand, still selling pretty well, and there were people that picked up Switches for that game.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, even though people had smartphones, but
Yeah.
you take a look at the culture of Pokemon Go. I mean,
Yeah.
that was, people were getting into accidents because they were not watching what they were doing while they were either driving or while they were walking. They had to start advertising on the game that you should not be playing this if you are driving in a car.
Yeah.
I mean, like, everybody knew what Pokemon was, and even people who did not care for Pokemon or didn't really know what it was back then, it's like they know what it is now because of things like Pokemon
Well,
Go.
I would say I think it's also one of the few like franchises that I can think of where like we grew up with the first games, and there are generations younger than us that are playing some of the newer stuff, and it's one of the few properties I can think of that spans multiple generations like that. Like even Star Wars, the kids younger than us, they're getting into it a little bit with the newer movies, but they're still not quite up to the same way we are, like that divide with Pokemon, where it's still bridging generations.
It seems to transcend time.
Yeah.
Where it just keeps bringing in new generations of fans.
Yeah, which is what Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee was aiming to do. Was bring in a whole new group of fans that maybe necessarily wouldn't play the main games.
Yeah.
So they made the game accessible and introduced like the idea of the battle system, because like
because wasn't that just a remake basically of Pokemon Yellow?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was pretty much Yellow again.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I actually really liked it. A lot of people...
I loved Yellow.
A lot of people panned the shit out of it because it wasn't battle-centric. It's not a hard game. But then again, Pokemon games, to be honest, for me personally, never were.
The only time Pokemon games are hard is when you put limitations on yourself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, you did the Ash run.
The Ash Challenge.
That was incredible.
Where, like, okay... I suppose we should have Paul explain what that is for people who don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's preface this by kind of going over, like, the generations here.
Okay.
So, obviously, this whole phenomenon started with Red and Blue for us. 151...
Technically. 152... Yeah, 151.
Pokemon unique... pocket monsters that you catch, you battle them, you try to become the Super Indigo League champion guy. You whoop your rival's ass a few times. He's a smart ass, although he got...
You're trying to be the best there ever was?
Catch them is my true test.
Yeah, he's... To train them is my cause.
Yes!
But that's...
I've traveled across the land.
Look what I started.
Don't even. I wanted to avoid
Searching
it.
far and wide.
A Pokemon to understand the power that's inside.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, because this. But that's. I lost my train of thought.
Talking about the generations. So
Yes.
we got red and blue.
The third one yellow.
Third one yellow. It was red and blue with a couple of twists in it. Instead of having Squirtle, Charmander, or Bulbasaur, they gave you Pikachu off the bat.
So what it was is that it was almost like, so red and blue were the main games, and then yellow was kind of like the topper of Generation 1.
Yeah.
And they tried to make it more, in my opinion, they tried to make it more like the TV show.
Yeah.
Where you ended up encountering Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander in different scenarios, and so then you got to, instead of having to choose one of them as your starter, you started off with Pikachu, like you did in the show, and then as you were going on, you then encountered each one of them like you did on the show.
Well, and also wasn't the different one, it wasn't just generic Team Rockets in yellow either?
I think it was it was
Didn't they
generic.
actually
It was
introduce,
generic Team Rocket members in red and blue, and I believe it was Jesse and James in yellow.
Was it really?
I
thought they were at least in one spot where you could talk to them.
Oh, I know in Let's Go, it's Jesse.
It's Jesse and James.
Yeah. But yeah,
I don't know. It's been a long time since I played the original yellow,
Yeah, I
so
was gonna
maybe
say,
I'm just.
me too.
I never have.
You've never played yellow?
I've never played yellow.
One of the things I thought was like that yellow did, because it was kind of nice little additional thing, was the Pikachu mini games.
Yeah,
Where
that's right.
Pikachu he could learn surf, which he's
Yes,
not
he could,
allowed
yeah.
to learn surf. He could also learn fly because of the balloons.
Yeah, you had to
So those were having those mini games where Pikachu could learn moves that are outside of his normal move pool was actually a really cool touch.
Yeah, well, it felt like they were trying to expand, like, the typings even back then. So it's like, now, oh, cool, he's an electric Pokemon. Well, let's give him a fucking flying move, so now, you know. And it was such a cool thing.
Yeah.
But I sunk, like Paul says, countless hours into the original.
In the original one, did you ever actually catch all 150?
Never.
Really?
I never have. It's too tedious of work. Not to mention you have to trade for some of them, and like to be honest, and this is confession time, I've never caught Mewtwo.
Really?
I've never done the secret dungeon. And
Seriously?
Never have. Not once. Because by the time I finish the game, I have no interest.
You basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And really? Because you didn't battle against your brothers or anything?
We did, but it wasn't... Even back then, I wasn't a huge, like, PvP kind of guy.
That's like one of the only games I can think of where I enjoy PvP. Was back then because like I'd hang out with Chris or my sister played. I had some friends at school that played. So like me like leveling my Pokemon and then rebattling them and quite frankly kicking their ass at some points until like everyone else started catching up in levels is.
It was where I first started to encounter people who cheat. Which is why, because wasn't there a Game Genie for the Game Boy?
Yes, there was. And it was that's
so
how I
of
actually
course,
got Mew.
And I'm pretty
how I got Mew as
sure
well.
I fought somebody who had cheated Pokemon, like
So
Pokemon that were they were level 100 when they're not supposed to be.
So here's the thing with Red and Blue: you didn't need a Game Genie in order
No.
to cheat.
Missing no.
There was the missing
glitch.
no glitch, and what it would do is that so you would talk to the bug catcher in Viridian City who says, "Do you want me to show you how to catch, or do you know how to catch Pokemon?" You say no. He goes through the whole spiel of catching Pokemon. You then fly to Cinnabar Island, and on the east side of the island, you just swim up and down the the coast,
Right.
and you will end up encountering Pokemon like Missing No, and you will encounter like level 132 or like higher like level Pokemon, and if you do, the 6th item in your inventory will then basically shoot up to like 99 or some like a max out where it's like you almost have like 100 of them or like hundreds of them.
Oh, okay.
And so you could do that with rare candies. You could do that with Master Ball. You could do that with the what is it, like the vitamins that you can take, like Carbos and
irons.
Calcium, iron.
Yeah.
Well, you
all
didn't
that
even need to
stuff.
do them. You just did it with the nugget, and you'd have enough money to buy everything you need,
do it with the
everything.
nuggets so that you have all these nuggets, and then you just end up shut up.
Sell them all but
and then
one.
you sell then you sell all but one and just rinse and repeat, and therefore you will be a frickin' just.
Although I always
you'll be
questioned
steroided
whether
up.
or not you actually had to talk to that guy.
You did.
Did it does it?
I mean, I believe so. I believe it does.
Was it
make a
ever
difference.
actually confirmed that you had to talk to him and it wasn't just a?
I think so, because what would have stopped the average person from just like?
Well, most people don't stick in a single tile and move up and down like that. Like,
I did when I was working up.
I
Like
did
when
too.
I grinded, I would just
too, yeah.
well, no,
I
but
would
you got to
grind,
remember
too.
also, Missing No only appears within that line. So
Yeah.
who would sit in that particular line and go up and down rather than right outside of a town where there's a
Right, the
Poke
Pokemon
Center
Center
is. So because it was in such a weird location,
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like it still could happen in the sense that
I kind of
like,
want to look that up and see if
if
that's required.
you have like an electric Pokemon that you want to build up, then yeah, and if you're in Cinnabar Island, then why wouldn't you just go up and down in the water?
But why would you go
instead
that
of
far
Pokemon
in? Like most people stay within a certain distance of like the Pokemon centers while training.
Yeah, the Pokemon Center is like right there on the.
I thought it was on the opposite side.
No,
The same
Cinnabar
people-
Island is tiny.
The same people that happen to find the glitches in like Super Mario 3 where you kick the turtle, it turns into a coin, but you grab the coin midair and it warps you to the end of the game. Like
Yeah.
some of those weird ass glitches that just have, or was the one in Ocarina of Time where you just boundary break it right
Or
to the end of the game.
No, Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I mean,
Link-
you never
yeah, Link
know.
to the Past.
Where
Yep.
you
You'd be
save
surprised.
mid-jump after grabbing the
Yeah,
princess,
you
and
end.
then
You end it. You continue, and then
you
all
just
of a
walk
sudden,
right up to Ganon and then up to the Triforce.
So who knows? I mean, people do some weird shit that, like, I feel like game developers really don't account for.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where that's where I started to. I was like, I hate fighting actual people in anything
Well,
because
so
people cheat and it
That's why I
drives me
preferred
nuts.
playing with people I knew.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I mean, for me, it wasn't. And I thought, to be honest, the whole concept of having the link cables was such a cool thing because there
was.
really wasn't
It was
anything
unique,
else
yeah.
like it.
No.
So
no.
like having to sit like the 2 feet away from each other and have it plugged into the system, and then accidentally pulling it out when people were fighting because that
Or
always
just
sucked.
or just having to get together with like a friend so that you two had to work together in order to get all 150.
And that's
Pokemon.
why, and it was cool when what was it? Game Boy Color had the IR sensor in the top for
Yeah. That was color.
for playing across it.
I believe
Yep.
so. Yes. Yeah.
It was really picky.
Yeah, it was. It had to be like exact
Yeah.
level and
Yeah.
angles and.
Because I remember using that for Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color.
Basically just-
Where you do that the mystery pop.
You basically
Yeah.
just lay them down on a table where they're facing each other and just touch the buttons instead of moving them. It was the only
much.
way to make it stable. It seemed like.
Yeah. But well, what was your favorite Pokemon from the first gen?
So honestly, from the first gen, I honestly feel like Pokemon Yellow was a really. It really combined Red and Blue, and the fact that it played more like the TV show. I loved that aspect of it.
All right. As far as games went, I basically I played both Red and Blue. I should say I played all three, but I only played through Yellow once. Like I played through Red, I don't know how many times.
Oh yeah.
So that's just kind of my favorite on that generation by default. But if we're talking like actual individual Pokemon,
Yeah, like the individual Pokemon. Did you think I meant games?
Oh, I thought you meant the games.
I
Oh,
No, like,
Oh, mine's
what
like-
individual Pokemon was your favorite?
oh, mine's Squirtle. Squirtle hits
as far as like
course.
individual went, back then when the first time through it, I was like, okay, I really love Charizard. And then I got Pokemon like Vaporeon, and I was like, he's just such a badass idea. Like, I actually really liked the Eevee line.
Oh, the Eevee
And
lines were awesome.
They were amazing, and then I liked them until I eventually ended up getting Gyarados. And I think he was probably my favorite.
Oh yeah, Gyarados was a fucking monster in the original
I just loved he
game.
went from that useless fish to that big badass.
Well,
like,
and I think
yes.
that's why it's like you had to kind of stomach the fact that he was an absolutely useless Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then that's why it could justify Gyarados being as
Yeah.
strong as he was because you had to stomach it until he got to level 20 when he could finally
Yeah.
turn into Gyarados.
An idea that they actually revisited. The whole idea of Magikarp and Gyarados.
Oh,
they
really?
did it with Phoebus and Milotic in
But that one was
Ruby Sapphire.
Oh.
wasn't it related to its beauty?
You had to max out the beauty stat for the competitions, and then I think level it up somewhere, and it would evolve into Milotic. But it was the same thing. Milotic was a beast, so
Yeah.
it was such a cool idea.
And a really cool looking Pokemon at that.
Yeah. I would have to say mine was probably Vulpix and Ninetales. I loved the way Vulpix and Ninetales looked, even though
Them and Arcanine as well.
I
Yeah, they're-
confess Arcanine's better than Ninetales. Everybody knows that. He's faster and stronger, but I fell in love with the way Vulpix and Ninetales look.
Yeah.
No, Ninetales still has Fire Blast, so I mean that's
That's
yeah.
true. That's true.
So it's powerful in its own right.
Yeah.
And in the modern games, Ninetales does have one cool leg up. There's the ice version.
That's true. The Alolan form.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
But speaking of fire too, I did love Flareon. I loved
Yeah.
Flareon, the fire version of
Eviles.
yeah.
Jolteon. I was Jolteon guy.
See, I
See, we got the trio.
That's why we work well together. So
with
three
our,
Eevees.
with our powers combined, we are the battling Eevee brothers.
So you mentioned you did get Mew. You did get Mew
I did.
unofficially, even though.
Well, I don't think there was an official way in the U.S. to ever
Yep.
get it.
There was.
There was. There was an official way. So Nintendo Power had a contest where 151 lucky players could send their game in to Nintendo.
Out of a million, like the millions of people that were
Out
playing.
of the millions of people, yes,
was the idea.
150, yeah, 151 would be selected to get Mew put onto their game. So you would send them your cart,
That's the
and
other
then
part.
and
Screw
yeah,
that.
you would send them your cart. They'd send it back, and Mew would be on that game. And so they went through in the issue of Nintendo Power. They said like what Mew's attributes were, where it would have what is it? The experience where it's almost like whenever you trade a Pokemon, you know how it gets the increased experience,
boosted.
boosted experience. He would always get boosted experience.
Of course.
He could learn any TM and HM. I think there was something else too, but either way, on the Game Genie, you could put in a code where you would then end up finding him in this location in Cerulean City, and so I ended up. And let me preface this by saying though that he was kind of like Abra, where he was still even though you had the chance to catch him, he was still tough as shit to catch.
Mm-hmm.
He was still difficult to catch because he could teleport away, and so you would be trying for hours on end trying to catch him.
At that point, you're already using the Game Genie. Just do what I did. Give yourself more Master Balls.
Oh, there you go.
At that point, you're already cheating to get the last Pokemon you need. You might as well just go all out.
But anyways, yeah, so I ended up using the Game Genie. I caught a Mew, which I was very surprised because as a Pokemon that is technically not in the game, he's listed as the 151st Pokemon.
Well, his data's in the game, and there was just no way to catch him.
Yeah, exactly. He's got stats. He's even got a backstory in there in his the Pokedex entry.
And that was the one thing I loved was like, you had the 150, and you went to talk to. What's his name? The one guy? I can't remember what city
Bill?
it is. But
Bill.
Is it Bill? No, I thought it was
In Cerulean?
the developer guy in the building.
Oh,
I
in
know what you're
Celadon. In
where
Celadon,
you
the
gave
mansion.
You talked about
Yeah.
filling out your Pokedex and
Yeah.
shit. If you talked to him at the 150, that's where he congratulates you and that you're done. But then if you caught Mew, all of a sudden it was like 151.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was kind of cool.
So it's just it's strange that they never said that this character was in the game, but yet it had all of that information stored from the get-go that it could be unlocked. And so then that's where all of these rumors about how
pushing the truck
that was on the that was right by the SSN, like why is that there? There's got to be a way to use strength to push it out of the way. There was so many different rumors about how to get Mew, and it just But anyways, when I caught the Mew, he had the boosted experience. He could learn any HM and TM, and I was like, he seems to be pretty much the same that Nintendo Power was claiming to be. And so I even wrote to Nintendo Power at the time, and I'm just like, I got Mew through a Game Genie, and he's doing the exact same thing that your contest Mew did too. Is there any difference between the two? And Nintendo actually did write me back, and they said that we can assure you that yours is not the official Mew. You had to have won it through the contest for it to be official. And I'm like, you know what? I bet you $1 million what they were doing.
Probably all they did was stick the card in and then into a system, and it just imported the data, unlocked the data.
I don't even think they did that.
I bet you there was one poor SOB at Nintendo of America who was like, this is number 26. They plugged it into a Game Genie.
Did it themselves.
And they caught it. Send the thing back. That's literally what they did.
That's amazing.
That would be kind of funny.
But yeah, it was Nintendo Power just kind of they were basically protecting themselves, the 151 contest that they had. But honestly, it was no different. If you caught it with a Game Genie, if you didn't, it
had
was the same thing.
actual IDs and stuff like that.
It did.
And
it
so
even had it even had a unique battle cry too.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
To be honest, too, for such an elusive Pokemon that was hard to get, it wasn't really that great.
In the very first game, actually,
I thought Mewtwo was still stronger than Mew.
Mewtwo was stronger, but because of the diversity that Mew was able to have, it was more useful. Because, especially when you're...
Psychic, Earthquake, Thunder, and something else.
Not just that, but, I tended to have... one that had Fly, Cut, Surf, something like
you
that.
made it your HM Ho.
Yeah, so you have one Pokemon that all the main ones you need to keep using, it's right there.
Yeah.
But also, too, Mewtwo was powerful, but that's because when you first encountered him after you beat the game, he was level 70 to start with.
Oh, that's true.
When you get a Mew, he's literally level like 8 or 10.
Yeah.
So by the time you get Mew to the same level that
technically you could alter. There was other codes you could put in that altered their level when you were catching them.
yeah. No, I'm
But
saying from the
Paul
beginning.
just used generic bullshit.
Oh, shut up. But anyways, if you power up Mew to the same level that Mewtwo is, I would say that Mew is definitely stronger than Mewtwo was.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Oh, wow.
hands down.
Wow. I don't know about all that. Like I said, I never cared. They always touted Psychic as like the most powerful type in the games it seemed, because so many legendaries ended up becoming Psychic something, whatever, and then like Psychic's such a bitch.
Well, now it is, but back then there really wasn't anything to compete with it.
It's true.
In the first generation, Psychic basically was your go-to. Just, I'm going to hit everything for a ton of damage.
And considering there was only one technical dragon type, which was Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite, Dragon really didn't have a way to shine until later gens of the series.
Yeah.
Which brings us... Well, actually, we'll tell your story about the Ash Challenge, you called it. I loved it.
So that actually does segue nicely, because it talks about, like, psychic Pokemon and how I thought, because of the TV show...
You idiot.
I thought that Ghost was effective against Psychic, when it is in fact the other way around. Psychic is super effective against Ghost.
Ghost is effective on Psychic. We have this debate every fucking time. Ghost works on Psychic.
Ghost
Yes.
does not work on Psychic.
It does.
Psychic is effective against Ghost.
The only reason Ghost was hurt by Psychic so much was because they're Ghost poison. Poison's weak to Psychic.
Well, either way, we go into the story here.
Go into the story. Tell your story. What is the Ash Challenge?
So the Ash Challenge is something that I was watching the old Indigo League series. I loved it when I was young. I watched all of that first season of Pokemon, and I noticed.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
And I noticed that
Badass, leave me alone.
Ash had his team of, like, he had Charizard, he had Pikachu, he had Pidgeotto. At one point he had like a Butterfree, he had a Haunter, and so I wanted to try to make the game as official as I... Go ahead. I wanted to make the game as official to the storyline as I possibly could. So I would get to a point where, like, let's say, so Ash had a Butterfree, and at the end of the SSN, he ends up releasing the Butterfree so that it could go off to its end mate. So I told myself, okay, I can catch a Caterpie, turn it into a Butterfree, but then after I'm done with the SSN, I have to release it. Or I can catch a Haunter to try to battle Sabrina, but then once I battle Sabrina, I have to release the Haunter because he leaves the Haunter with Sabrina.
Of course.
And so Pikachu had to stay as Pikachu, Bulbasaur had to stay as Bulbasaur, Squirtle had to stay as Squirtle. Charizard was the only one that I could move it from I could evolve it from a Charmander to a Charizard. And so then I started doing this, playing it as effective as I could. And so I played the game to those specifications, and first off, I realized that Haunter is not strong against Kadabra and Psychic Pokemon. So,
You're right. Ghost is normal effective against Psychic.
Thank you.
But that makes no sense.
No.
Because the whole point of Ghost is only effective on Ghost.
So what's the point of using Ghost?
What is the point of Ghost?
Exactly. So Ash taught me that Haunter could easily take out a Kadabra, when essentially it couldn't.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It is super effective on Psychic. My bad. I was reading this chart wrong.
I was actually looking at. There is no chart, weakness chart in this one.
Yeah, Ghost is 0 times effective on normal, 2 times effective on other ghosts, 2 times effective on psychics, 0.5 times effective on Dark.
That's funny. I must not have been using a ghost move then, if that's the case, because
Well,
I kept getting it's not very effective.
The
ghost
only
tech moves were
two
there?
ghost moves there were in the original one,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, was Lick with Ghastly and Haunter. Lick was a ghost move.
Lick was a ghost move?
Stupid.
Oh.
And I want to say Dream Eater, maybe?
Oh,
That
maybe,
might have been
yeah.
second. But no, it wasn't Dream Eater.
No, because Psychic Pokemon had that too.
Yeah.
Hypno had it.
I
And he
feel
wasn't
like it
ghost.
was only like Lick. Because
Oh.
Dark wasn't around yet in the original.
Oh, so in other words, it pretty much,
There was like
wasn't
nothing.
effective.
It was a victim of its typing because
Yeah.
the games were so early.
Yeah.
Kind of like when Dark and Steel released in Gold and Silver, they were victims of the time.
Yeah.
The only real moves for them were like shitty little, like crappy moves that nobody would use. So like I feel like maybe that's why.
Yeah.
But you're right.
But-
I apologize. But Psychic is 2 times
Yeah.
effective on Poison, which there was no pure Ghost type in the
No.
original game.
But either way, so I was already let down with that. Having to get rid of Pokemon like Butterfree and
Oof.
Haunter, it sucked having to release them. And then getting to like the Elite Four and having to beat like Gary, and my final team was literally Pidgeotto, Pikachu, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charizard, and I can't remember who the last one was.
I didn't think you had another one. I feel like that was all he had.
Maybe that's what it was.
It was pathetic, is
But
what it was.
it really was, because Pokemon, when they get to their final evolution, their stat boosts are increased
Oh,
a
yes.
lot. And so when they're at their base form and you're not allowing them to evolve, you are really hindering their growth.
Yes.
The only other ghost move in the original was Nightshade.
And that was a predetermined amount of damage.
It was.
I think it was only like it was equal to your level.
Yep.
And it had no basis for you couldn't do like 2 times or anything.
It was like
that.
Sonic Boom or
Yeah.
Dragon Rage.
It was always a fixed amount.
Yeah,
That
so
stinks.
stupid.
Wow.
So that's where that challenge was completely
Yeah.
stupid.
And so it made me think to myself, Ash is quite possibly the worst trainer in existence.
Quite possibly.
He is.
He is.
No, he just flat out is
He
the worst.
was, yeah. He
I mean,
was.
Gary had, 8 badges before they ever got there?
Like 11.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, he had a lot of badges before that. And Ash was just fortunate in the sense that, okay, so to get his Earth badge, he had to defeat Jesse and James. He had to defeat Arbok and
Wheezing. Who he's beaten countless times.
And
One-shots those guys for all the time, too. It's
and
like,
Gary, the poor SOB, had to go up against an augmented Mewtwo.
well, that's right, he had the helmet and stuff
He
on.
did. It was like the right
armor.
It was and the armor. It was the lead up into the movie.
Yeah.
Where Gary had to fight the augmented Mewtwo. I'm like, dude, Gary, yes, he is somewhat of a bully, but man,
There's a reason he's a bully.
He's proved his mettle.
There's the reason
as
he's a
trainer.
bully is he watched Ash go fight. Well, not directly there, but Ash fights Brock. How does he win? Sprinkler
He sets the
system.
sprinklers off.
How does he beat get Misty's badge?
Team
Okay.
Rocket.
He beats up Team Rocket and sets up their Pokemon and her sister's free. Or
I will
something
say
like that.
this.
It's like,
I will say this. His Pikachu would have pwned all those water Pokemon.
well, yeah,
saying.
but that's the one trainer he could have beat.
He
Actually-
didn't. He never beat Erica.
Nope.
He never beat Erica.
I don't think he beat Koga either.
Because they basically there was a fire, and so he was actually rescuing all of the Pokemon.
Yeah, he rescued
The
Gloom.
Yeah, and so she gave him the badge as because of his honor of saving Gloom.
Yeah, that was the one thing I found so hilarious about the TV show. He did
was
not
given-
earn a single
no.
badge.
How did he beat Sabrina? By by Haunter making her laugh. And yeah.
To which Kadabra couldn't act.
Kadabra couldn't fight because Kadabra was too busy linked to Sabrina, and Sabrina laughing and Kadabra laughing. It's just that was it. That was it. That's how he got the freaking badge.
But
it gets worse than that too, because the way he beats Mewtwo in the movie is he gets petrified, and then all the Pokemon cry over him.
Oh, really?
That's the ending of the movie.
I can't remember that.
And then their Pikachu's tears, cures petrifying.
And Mewtwo finds his heart.
And Mewtwo is moved, and then him and Mew fly away or whatever the hell it was. It is stupid.
And
even as a kid, I was like, "Oh, come on now."
Yeah.
And it was, I remember they were touting the big battle when he met Blaine, and it was going to be Charizard versus Magmar. And I'm like, that's kind of like anticlimactic because it was fire against fire, but also
Charizard never listened to him.
Ash had a Charizard that would not listen to him because he was a crap trainer.
But to be fair, too, in the cartoon, he got his ass handed to him by Richie.
He did.
In the Pokemon tournament. I loved it.
Yeah, he never won the Pokemon tournament because of Richie. Yep.
That's where I felt like the deviation between the cartoon and the game kind of pissed me off. I would have loved to see him actually face an Elite Four.
Oh, sure.
Because that was like... I loved the idea of fighting Gary or Blue or whatever he was in that.
Your rival, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I loved when they did Pokemon Origins, the cartoon.
Yeah.
That was incredible because it followed Red and Blue, not Ash and Gary.
Until Mega Evolutions pop their face in.
We don't talk about that. But yeah, so I remember my mind was fucking blown by Red and Blue, and of course Yellow. Mm-hmm. And then they stepped it up even further when Gold and Silver was released. Oh my god!
Well,
I loved the Johto
And then they pushed
region.
the boundary even further when Crystal dropped.
Yeah.
So
Gold and Silver released, how many years later?
I believe it was 2 years later. It was 2000.
It was 2 or 3, I want to say, yeah.
It was
Let's
2000
see.
because it was after Pokemon Yellow.
99.
Oh, it was 99. Oh, so
could
it was early 99 that Yellow came out, and then it was late. It was fall 99 when
2000 for us. Boy, this is weird.
Oh, 2000. Oh,
Japan
so it was 2000.
November 1999. North America, October 15th, 2000.
Yeah. So okay, so I was right. Yeah.
So that I remember when that game came out. I think I've told this story before. My dad went out and bought a gold and silver for us, but came home with just silver because he made the folly that you can only save one save file on any card, and which still holds true to this day.
Yeah.
So then we cried a little bit, and he eventually after he called us ungrateful idiots, it's like, get your coats on, we'll go, and we ended up picking up gold at Target or whatever.
So what version did you play?
I had gold.
See, I had
my
gold
younger
as
brother
well.
and silver.
Your dad is the meanest softie I've ever met.
He's the best. I love my dad. But I remember just as soon as I started that game up, oh my god, I was blown away. The graphics were so much smoother, so much better looking. I loved that they introduced the 2 new types, Steel and Dark.
Yep.
Even though they weren't good, I still love that they did it.
Yeah. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I liked how the game was so expansive. It felt much bigger than the first one, and even to a degree, I mean, it even included pieces of the first one in it, where you went back to the
back to
Johto
Johto
region.
Yeah.
Or Kanto, I'm sorry. You
Or
were in
Kanto. Yeah, you're in Johto. You went back to Kanto, and even though, in my opinion, that was actually one of the sadder things, is that when you went back to Kanto, as it felt like an echo of Red and Blue, where I'm like, God, I really wish I was playing Red and Blue right now, because it feels so, I don't know, so sparse. Things that you think should be open, they're not open. It's just there for the aesthetics, and it just, I don't know why, but it just it kind of broke my heart. I'm like, I want these places to be open.
It was still nice to see it.
It was.
It was a nice thing that they didn't have to do.
Yeah, but they never revisited the idea, which was upsetting.
Yeah.
You've never gone back to a previous area.
Nope.
But the thing that I hated about that, going through Johto, I mean, it felt as long as it did in the original game. You spent all your time in Johto, you went through all that, you fought the Elite Four, you became the champion, then they send you to Kanto. Well, at that point, you're already the league champion. Your Pokemon can just destroy everybody.
It is interesting, though, that they allow you to collect 16 badges versus the 8.
Yeah.
Because then you can get the Kanto region badges. But yeah, like you said, you're already so super powered. It's you're not, and I don't think that they make their Pokemon any stronger in Kanto.
No,
to balance
The
that.
only challenge is
getting to Elite Four.
Well, no, because isn't that Was Gold and Silver the one they introduced? You can go fight.
You can fight Red.
You can fight Red. He was the
To me-
only challenge in the game.
He was he was the hardest part of that game. Was that
absolutely.
it's unlike the Elite Four and Gary or your rival in the first generation. The second generation, when you could optionally go against Red or your rival, he was no joke.
Everything was level 70.
Tough.
Admittedly, I could never beat his first fucking Pokemon, Pikachu. Earthquake. His Pikachu had fucking Earthquake, and it ruined me every time.
Well, it wasn't even just that. He also had a level 70 Snorlax as well too, which was so hard to get past that defense. It did
to kill that thing if you weren't higher level.
Because he was also very smart too. Like the AI played very smart. Like, oh, if I'm like I have just a smidgen of life left or whatever,
here comes that max
I'm
heal.
gonna use a full restore, or I'm gonna use sleep or what is it, the heal
that
Snorlax does.
Rest.
Could you imagine if they had made him able to use like max revives in that fight? Oh my god.
Well,
That's the only thing that probably didn't make it impossible was the fact that he didn't play like a human where you could use max revives or just revives in general.
Yeah, because technically they only ever used a potion or something once. They never did it multiple times, except in the Elite Four, I believe they did.
Depending on where you would get them, because if you ever got them into like the warning or they only had like a sliver of life left, they always seem to use a full restore at that point. However, if you got them outside of that point, they never used it, even though they should have, but they wouldn't.
But I also thought they had limited. They weren't allowed to just keep healing.
It was only like once or twice, but I think the Elite Four could do it multiple times.
Well, what I also hate too, though, is that the Elite Four could use moves like they were not affected by PP, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I would count.
Wait, really?
Oh yeah, because I would count their use of their use of moves like Hyper Beam.
Yeah.
You only get 5 Hyper
shots.
Beams.
You could. What could you pump it up to? Was it 10?
Yeah, technically, as long as you had PP up, you could.
No. I mean, because there was the item that could boost the number of times you could use a move.
Yeah, but in Generation 1, I don't think they had that, though.
Yeah, they did.
Generation Gold and stuff, I thought that was where they introduced the ability to do that.
Yeah, I thought they did in the first one, because I remember having Thunder for 7 uses, and Thunder was a 5er.
Yeah, but that's because you use PP up.
Yeah.
You could,
That's
you
what
can
he's
increase.
talking about,
Yeah, well, no, I thought you meant like you could.
No, I'm not talking about PP Restore. I'm talking about the ones where you actually.
Yeah, it actually moves it up by
base,
one. By one, yeah.
And I can't remember how many times you could use that on certain moves, because I know it was limited too by the type of the power of the move. Basically, those 5ers were only allowed to have so many, whereas like you could pump other ones up higher.
Yeah.
The older ones must have had an infinite PP.
They had to have, because I went up against Lance, who used Hyper Beam with, I want to say it was Aerodactyl. He used it like 7 or 8 times, and I'm just like, when is he gonna run out of PP? Like, is he ever gonna run out of PP? Like, what's going on?
So much PP.
Oh shut up. So
no, I do know that in later ones they did, because when I did
struggling.
Fire Red and Leaf Green, I actually got into a war of attrition with one of the Elite Four where they had an Executor, and I had Starmie. Well, I ran out of. I mean, Starmie doesn't work on Executor because he's Grass Psychic, and Starmie's Water. So of course he was just using the grass moves here and there, Solar Beam, but I was surviving it, and I would just keep full restoring it and shit because I had Recover, and like eventually it just like I had to surf him to death. You ever tried to surf to death a fucking level 50 Executor? Doesn't go well.
who's not weak against water? Yeah.
No, it was a mess, but I remember at one point he did run out. But that was a gen later. But I will say I did love how it did feel like time progressed in Kanto when you got there. Like, what was it? Koga became part of the Elite Four, which he wasn't the previous one. His daughter was the leader of the gym.
Yeah.
Lance was actually the Pokemon, like the league champion.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yep.
So it was really cool how like they showed like a progression of time from the first game to the second. Like it felt like it was a continued universe, you know, and a continued series.
Yeah, it really did feel like that. I did like that piece of it too, where it did feel like there was consequences. Like, where basically Gary lost and then Ash went on, and so then therefore Lance then took over that mantle of, he was the Kanto champion at that point. The idea of Koga and Koga's daughter, and it's like Koga's daughter took over the gym while Koga then kind of made his way up to the Elite Four. I absolutely love that idea of the story continuing, even though we're not seeing it continue.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about like the whole idea of like the legendaries? We kind of glossed over it in the first gen, like the birds. You had the trio of birds. You had oh my god, why am I blinking? Articuno.
I honestly
Zapdos, Moltres.
Yeah.
Uno Dos Tres.
Uno Dos Tres.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Mewtwo.
it was just Mewtwo.
Yeah, it was Mewtwo was like the fourth. Yeah. And then in this, and then Gold and Silver, it was
the gerbils, the two birds.
Entei, Suicune, and Raikou.
Suicune and Raikou, yeah.
But then each game also had its own.
Oh yeah, Ho-Oh and
Lugia. Ho-Oh and Lugia.
Oh, it was Lugia. Yep.
Which I thought was a cool touch. I was glad that they did that.
So I liked the idea of Ho-Oh and Lugia because they were always in a set place, like the classic
birds,
game, where you only had the one chance to catch them and to battle them, but you could do so, and at least you could save right outside of it, so then therefore you could try to battle until you caught him. I played through the entirety of Silver, and I absolutely loved it. I never once encountered one of the legendary dog Pokemon. Never
That's
once.
true.
Really?
And never once.
I would encounter them, but I was so under-leveled I couldn't catch them.
Well, and it was not only just that. It's you had to randomly encounter them where they could be anywhere, and they could run away.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to do the whole thing all over again. I absolutely despise that.
Their life carried over.
Yes,
Yes,
it did.
their life carried over.
But if you knocked them out, they were gone for good.
Yes, correct. But if they ran away or they did something,
They went to another random place.
They went to another random place, so you had.
But
to
you could
find them
actually
again.
manipulate the system.
Well, that I did not know.
They did follow a path, but I don't remember. There was a way to track
There
it.
was because the first time you meet them, I think it showed up where they were when you went to the Pokedex afterwards.
Maybe, yeah.
But there was one of the
you're right.
towns you could go to where when you went north out of the town, that's one of the random places you can meet them. So you basically go out there, have a couple battles, they don't show up, you go back into town, go back out, and it makes them jump. So you can eventually manipulate where they're jumping to.
Oh, gotcha.
Because that's how I ended up having to finally catch them. So,
Which they also revisited that idea too with the three psychic Pokemon in I want to say Diamond and Pearl. Was that Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit?
I think so. Diamond Pearl. That sounds about right.
Yeah, because I think they jumped around too, and you had to catch them. Or was it Latios and Latias in
no,
Ruby
because
Sapphire?
didn't you have to go to that special island to get them?
No, in Ruby and Sapphire was Kyogre and
Groudon were the
Groudon.
legendaries.
They were set,
games, but there was also another one.
Oh.
It was Latios and Latias, and I think they traveled.
Oh, gotcha.
They were like the traveling dogs.
Probably why I never found them in there either.
But you didn't get both, I think. I think if you had Sapphire, you got Latias.
I think, yeah.
And if you had Ruby, you got Latios. Or something, or the other way around. I don't remember what it was.
I don't know. It's been a while for those ones, too.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But I thought that was such a cool thing that they did with Gold and Silver, was introducing like the game-specific legendaries. Which it added that extra layer of, now you have to have a friend that has the other game, or go buy the other game so you can trade it to yourself, or whatever the fuck. Which, who had 2 Game Boys?
Yeah, that's true. So,
but
well, I'd say the only complaint I have with its legendaries as far as the overall series goes, there's just too many of them.
Well, they watered down the whole
what it means to be a legendary.
Yeah.
The other thing I hated, and it's the same thing I hate with the starters, is I hate that they use the same trios.
Mm-hmm.
So for the starters, it's always the fire, grass, water.
Grass, and water.
yep.
Every time.
Every time. Why not venture out and go to Psychic, Dark, and
Psychic, Dark, and Fighting.
And Fighting.
Or Metal. One of the new ones.
Well, because it's another one of the triangle.
Psychic would work on Dark, but Dark would not work on Psychic.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dark would work on Psychic, but not the other way around. Psychic would work on Fighting, but not the other way around. And Fighting would kick Dark's ass, but not the other way around.
And it's always there's other trios like that in the games that they could make starters for, but what do? No, we're gonna go with the same default one, and it's the same with the legendaries. It's always the legendary the trios of the fire, ice, lightning, and it's come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that I think overall is my biggest complaint about Pokemon is that they stick to these like set things, and then they really don't venture outside of it that often.
It's super formulaic.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we're jumping the gun a little bit on complaints. But, I mean, we could spend probably... This could easily be like a 3-hour fucking podcast if we go, like, generation by generation.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we'll do, like... Because you've played how many of them, Paul?
I played, let's see, red and blue, gold and silver I did. I played Ruby, and I played...
Did you play Diamond
XY? No.
So you missed Diamond, Pearl, and Black and White.
Yeah.
We played them all.
I played every single one.
Yeah, you and me both. Okay. So we'll talk about maybe the first 3
Just jump to Ruby now.
Yeah. We'll talk about Ruby and Sapphire. My personal favorite generation, because... Fuck you, Paul. I know what you're going to say, and I know where it's coming, but I want to say Blaziken was amazing. Because it introduced the most OP fucking typing ever created in the Pokemon universe. Fire and fighting.
Well,
Jesus
and then,
frickin' Christ.
To make it worse, they introduced a move that just broke the game.
Sky
Uppercut.
Fire and fighting.
That combination wrecked everything.
So Andy got me, unbeknownst to him, a counterfeit copy of Ruby.
Yes, I did.
So that I could play through the game, and I was able to beat the entire game, literally catching no Pokemon, except for Pokemon that I needed to use HMs to use. But Blaziken, well, it was Torchic was the base. I picked Torchic. And it evolved eventually into the Blaziken, and I literally was just destroying everything with it.
Well, because if Sky Uppercut didn't work, you used fire.
Yeah, and I felt
flame wheel.
Yeah, and I felt no reason to train any other Pokemon or to get any other Pokemon. I literally think my team consisted of probably
Blaziken,
like
with
4
Blaziken and another Blaziken.
No, it was literally like 4 Pokemon. That was it. Like, I did not even have a full belt of Pokemon.
You didn't need it.
And I didn't need it. And in fact, when I ended up finding, was it Groudon? Was Groudon in
Groudon,
or Groudon? He was in Ruby?
Yep.
Yeah. So when I ended up finding him, the problem was I wanted to catch him.
You kept killing him?
But I kept killing him.
You asshole.
Because Blaziken was too strong.
Well, at that point, because no one else is leveled up.
And...
Not even with experience, you don't level up enough to where it matters.
Well, not only just that, but then it's like when I get to when you get him, you're near the end of the game, and so I wanted to use him against like some of the later battles. It's like I had Blaziken, who was in the 70s, who was just absolutely destroying everything, and it wasn't even fun to play as him anymore. And then I had Groudon, who was level 30, and he couldn't withstand anything. Like, he was constantly getting knocked out. I'm like, so either I'm too underpowered and weak, or I'm way too overpowered and it's not fun. So I'm like, literally, I don't know what to do.
Ruby Sapphire sounds like the generation where you started to fall off.
Well, and see, the sad part is, from Ruby on, even with like the remakes, you could basically just take your starter and walk the game. Because I know I did it in every generation afterwards.
Yeah.
My starter was my main Pokemon, and it beat the shit out of everything.
Fire and fighting,
with the exception of like catching like 1 or 2 here, like getting Aegislash or Pawniard and stuff like that for the other ones that I really liked and wanted.
Bisharp. There you go. Yeah.
Well, because it started as Pawniard, didn't it?
Yeah,
and then
it
became Bisharp because he was Dark Steel, and he just beat the shit out of everything.
He was amazing. I loved Bisharp. But yeah, it's fire and fighting because fire worked on so much and had very few weaknesses. Water and ground, I think, were its only real weaknesses.
Yep.
And then you had fighting, which worked on so many things and was only weak to psychic and flying.
Yeah.
So it's like there were so many Pokemon that got shafted by the double typing, like Breloom. Grass and anything is the worst combination. He was grass fighting. So he's already 4 times weak to fucking flying thanks to the grass counterpart. Then Psychic ruins his ass. Then I think ground was the only thing he was actually good against because ground doesn't work on grass and fighting, But it's like that firefighting combination, which they revisited for 3 more fucking generations.
See, and that's part of what pisses me off about like the always using the same trios.
Yeah.
They don't venture. I mean, granted, I will say, which one is it that had the owl and shit?
That was Sun and Moon.
Sun and Moon. They did venture outside a little bit because it became a psychic water.
Yeah.
And then grass.
Water. It was water psychic, grass dark, and then why can't I remember the third one?
He was firefighting, wasn't he?
No, fire dark. It was Incineroar.
Okay, yeah.
Was fire dark. Sorry, it was grass ghost.
Yeah,
it was grass ghost.
That's right, because he got the bow. That
Yeah.
was such a cool move. But like that's just the thing is they have these types they like and they don't venture from it.
No.
Although I mean, and like as far as like Ruby Sapphire goes, I think story wise it is by far the best.
I loved it
because the villains actually accomplish what they set out to do,
and they were different from game to game.
Yeah, and Ruby, they used the power of Groudon to make the world like dry.
Yeah,
they caused like a
worldwide drought.
Yeah, and then in Sapphire they flood the world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Team
cool.
Aqua flooded the world with Kyogre.
Yeah.
It was a really cool idea, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And then if you played Emerald, it was like a weird mix between the two, which introduced Rayquaza, who calmed both of them.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But,
and Rayquaza was a beast.
Oh, Rayquaza.
Extreme speed.
Yeah. Lightning Dragon, man. But I loved Ruby Sapphire. The Pokemon they came up with in that generation, for me, was incredible. Like, I loved Grumpig. It's stupid. It's the stupidest thing, but I mean, it's where Gardevoir came from.
Yeah.
I loved Gardevoir.
Well, that you like her for a completely different reason.
No,
sorry.
That's not true. That's not true. Maybe once or twice. No, it's just because Steel and Dark became a little bit more prominent. Because Steel is by far my favorite typing. I love Steel. The Steel
Ghost.
Aggron. Aggron is my go-to for any Pokemon. Aggron and Metagross. Steel Psychic, Steel Rock. I mean, I fucking love them. Metagross, I'd say, is probably my favorite from that generation. But, I mean...
Oh, I just thought of a Pokemon that might actually be able to give Blaziken a run for his money as far as broken goes.
I don't know.
No.
Was it Haxor?
Haxorus?
Yeah, because he was broke. Like he was stat-wise, he beats Blaziken out of the water. I think.
Haxorus was just Dragon, wasn't he?
Here,
Oh yeah, I got a smartphone. I forgot.
I don't. I got a dumb phone.
But for me, like Ruby and Sapphire was the move because it started. Hold on a second. It's like you looked at the first 2 games, which were for the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, and then you went to the Game Boy Advance, which the whole world just took on a whole new look and a whole new feeling, and it was incredible. Like, the characters looked better. You could actually fucking run, which was incredible. Like, it was just cool. So, like, I loved Ruby Sapphire.
So basically did away with the bicycle. You need the bicycle because you could run.
God. Yes, the running shoes were a godsend.
Yeah.
But then you ended up going into Diamond and Pearl, which was good. I mean, I liked Diamond and Pearl. I remember a girl I was dating, I got her into, well, she was always into Pokemon to begin with, but I remember we bought that game together. So, you know, we loved it. And of course, that one had same firefighting. You had Infernape. Hated Infernape.
Loved it.
Torterra, and then Empoleon, which, Steel Water, Empoleon is the man.
Yeah.
Loved Empoleon. But it weirdly, like, started to get sluggish again.
Well, it got stale.
Well, yeah, stale, and, like, the whole world just felt... So Ruby and Sapphire was very quick-paced with its battling.
Oh, sure.
Like, the life bars went fast, like, the attacks went fast. When you got to Diamond Pearl, all of a sudden it took this weird slow dip. Like, life would take forever to like, reduce. So if you, like, one-shotted something, it took forever for that life bar to drain.
Oh, gotcha.
And it just, the whole pacing of the game was so slow and sluggish. The world looked cool because they started going to that, like, pseudo 3D look, which I loved. I loved the look of the world and all that, and it was almost more of like a like very marshy, kind of more ground and water based. It was a cool environment. I actually want to play through those games again, but I don't know. Like, I started to fall off from there, and like you said, it started to get stale because you know, we've been playing 3 generations. Like, all right, I'm ready for something new. You know, which Emerald introduced. the version yellow of Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Introduced.
It was the generation topper, basically.
Yeah, introduced the whole idea of the tag battles. So now you use 2 Pokemon at the same fucking time. Oh my god! Which was awesome, because there was a gym battle where you fought 2 on 2.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was really neat. Like, I loved the idea. Granted, it was used very seldom, and it was certain trainers here and there, usually a couple of lovers, or some brothers, or whatever the fuck. But, like, I feel like Diamond and Pearl started to do the same, but then... Oh, what was it? Was Diamond and Pearl the one where they introduced the 3 battles? It was the 2 different ones, the rotation and... I don't remember what the other version was called.
There's a 2-on-2.
Well, there was a version of like triple team battles. There was one where it was 3-on-3. Everybody fought at the same time, but you could only target specific people. Then there was a rotation one where only one fought at a time, but you could rotate between the 3 freely. I can't remember how it worked.
Yeah, I remember.
But it was like game specific which version of the battle system you got. But
I think until you went to Battle Tower, and then they had both.
Maybe. I think so. That sounds right. But, yeah, like, Diamond Pearl, it started to get weird. Like, they started coming up with weird ideas for Pokemon. Like,
Pokemon have always had weird idea. Like, there's always been the 1 or 2 odd one outs in every game.
Voltorb and Electrode is literally just a Pokeball, and then a Pokeball upside down.
Well, and then, like...
Come on, man.
Magnemite becoming Magneton is just the 3.
The trios, yeah.
And then you got...
Dodrio.
Then you'd get the later ones like, Garbodor or...
Trubbish and Garbodor.
Vanillish.
Yeah, but
and, like, you get those weird... Or what's the key one?
Oh,
It's literally a fairy Pokemon that's a key.
It's a key ring.
Oh.
Yeah. Chingling and Chimeco.
I think
or
that's
Chimecho.
Yeah.
But it got like Rotom. He just turns into various household appliances.
Clang.
A fridge, a lawnmower.
Clang and clang, clang, clang.
That I feel like they just got lazy. But it feels like past a certain point, it's just like, well, what can we do now? Let's just throw another fucking turtle in there, another fucking bird. Which I have to say, I did like Talonflame a lot.
Yeah.
Because I love that a common bird. Damn, I don't even remember its first form. It turned into Fletchender, which turned into Talonflame. I don't fucking remember.
Here's another one that can kick his ass.
Who's that? Yeah, I don't even remember. Fuck me. Sun and Moon, man.
He's dragon fighting.
Oh wow.
Past Gen 4, everything gets fuzzy. I could literally name... you could tell me what Pokemon, I could tell you what generation it started in. Except for a couple. I actually didn't realize Skarmory started in Gold and Silver. I thought he
really?
was... Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I thought he was Diamond and Pearl myself. Or not Diamond and Pearl, but Ruby Sapphire.
Nope, you shook the trees and he'd come out of them.
I never did anything. Like, was that where you headbutted them? You headbutted trees?
Something like that, yeah.
See, I never did that. So it's like Skarmory, I just completely blanked. I thought for sure it was Ruby Sapphire it started in, but like some of the other ones too that were in Gold and Silver, then I'm like, really? And the only reason I found that out was because a friend of mine plays Pokemon Go, and when they released they're releasing them generationally, like they were coming out, and I'm like, I thought that was the next gen, or that was a gen before. Like it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that?
Well, I do know that when I did play X and Y, I really liked the story of XY. Yeah. I didn't really care for, again, the gameplay, because again it seemed like a lot of the same thing. It just got very kind of boring, very stale to me. But I love the story about how in the very first one, Lieutenant Surge talks about how Raichu was there for him in the Great War.
Yeah.
And defended him, and you're just wondering, like, what war are they talking about? It doesn't look like anything is war. And X and Y is the first one that actually visits the idea that, no, the world is a very dark place, and that there was a great, large-scale Pokemon civil war.
Well, I'm going to say, if you actually look at, like, the description of Pokemon's always been a very, like, dark game. I mean, you have, was it the tower where you go and fight, like, it's the graveyard. And all that stuff. Like, they've always
Tower in Lavender Town.
Yeah, they've
Pokemon
always
Tower,
Pokemon has always had that very dark side to its stories from the get-go.
Yeah, but X and Y it seemed like it was the first one that actually like dove deep into the fact that there was this this fight that
Well,
was
and
going
then-
on that you just never really knew about, but it's like this just made it canon.
And then you have that one Pokemon who's like, it's the souls of dead children.
Oh,
The mask.
yeah, Yamask.
Oh, yeah, Mask, yeah.
Like,
Pythagoras and
Like, yeah, you look at the descriptions, they're the souls of, like, dead children. They lure children away and kill them and stuff like that. It's like,
yeah,
Pokemon, you're fucked up. What are you
Drifloon
doing?
and Drifblim, their Pokedex entries, they steal children.
Oh,
like if
wow.
there's a kid just out by himself, Drifloon will come by, pick his ass up, and take him away. Like, it's crazy. Some of the descriptions, you're like, oh my
If
god.
you actually go through and read the Pokedex,
Wow.
it is messed up.
That's messed up.
But I mean, to be fair, it makes sense. Like
Yeah.
the world's a dark place to begin with. Why would Pokemon be? They can't all be like, "Hey, I'm Pikachu."
Because that's what Pikachu sounds like, huh?
And then it always,
Pika-Pay!
it always comes back to, what do they eat in that world? You have to eat Pokemon. There are no wild animals other than Pokemon.
They apparently eat donuts that look like nothing like
Or
donuts.
what are those, the bricks?
Oh, the Pokeblocks.
There we go.
Yeah, right.
Pokeblocks and the
Pokeblocks.
berries.
Bears. The whole world's vegan.
All I remember
Except
is
for all
that
those Pokemon like Tyranids, the giant
ones that eat other Pokemon.
dinosaur,
it
yeah.
always used to bother me when Brock always was like, "Hey guys, I've got donuts." I'm like, "Those aren't donuts. Those don't look anything like donuts." Like on the TV show,
Oh.
you know, like
Were they rice balls?
they were like rice balls,
Motherfucker.
And he's like, "Hey, you want a donut?" I'm like, "That's not a donut."
I never really pay attention to I
Oh
didn't
God,
watch the
it
show,
would
so-
always drive me nuts. Like, no, donut is like it's bread and it's circular with a hole in the middle. Like that's
Long
a
Johns
donut.
aren't circular, nor do they have holes in them.
But this was clearly a rice ball.
This was clearly a rice ball. And they're eating them like they're so delicious. I'm like, no, I like rice, but no, don't tell me it's a donut.
Yeah. I've actually also never beaten Black and White.
Yeah,
I got so far into it, and then I was just like, I just can't. I can't do it anymore. Like, because it was just this... Black and White was the point where I just started to fall totally away from Pokemon.
X and Y was like that for me too, where I made it. Like the first half of the game was like exciting because it had been a long time since I'd played a Pokemon, and I would say at the halfway point, that's where I was playing it, only to just kind of keep asking myself, like, God, when is this going to be done? When's it going to be done?
Well, because the game started to get to a point where, like, you're collecting badges fast as fuck for a while, and then all of a sudden there's this enormous lull of, like, I haven't collected a badge in at least 3 hours.
Oh yeah, where it
Because-
feels like you just all of a sudden you're walking in quicksand, where you're just like,
Because now you're
I don't
dealing,
feel like I'm making any progress story wise, but you're walking in circles. Going,
I'm dealing with the team of this generation, and all their stupid fucking problems, and it's like, I just want to... It's Pokemon. I want to collect badges, and I want to fight people, and I want to be the Elite Four champion. Like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about Team Dildo over there. I don't give a shit that they want to put a butt plug in every ass. Do what you gotta do. Fucking, I just want to be the champ. Like, that's... Don't look at me like that.
Oh man.
That's the team for the next generation. I'm just saying. Hey, you never know. Might be a butt plug Pokemon coming up in the next gen. You never know.
With the designs they're going with lately, it's possible.
Where's the Benoit ball Pokemon?
That's the other thing is like,
Oh man.
if you really like, have you thought about how many Pokemon there actually are now?
I
It's about
haven't.
890
Yeah.
something.
It's almost 900 Pokemon. To think that it started with 151
Insane.
and it's now up that high, it's kind of ridiculous. Don't look at me like that, Paul.
And you
Beads of an L, go!
Oh God.
and it's hard. And that's the one thing that I used to love so much about the series is like. You used to be able to import Pokemon from other gens in, you know what I mean, and play.
Well,
with-
and then once it jumps to the newer system, you
Yeah.
couldn't anymore, obviously.
Yeah, so it got kind of weird in the fact that you like making a full Pokedex is damn near impossible without Game Genie.
Well, but that's also where like I was kind of glad they introduced to what was it, Wonder Trader,
Yeah, the Wonder Trade.
where you can go on and like there were ways to get the older generation Pokemon, and you could trade with people around the world. And
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
granted, unfortunately, a lot of people put hacked Pokemon on there.
Of
And,
course.
Oh.
But that also is what started spawning the remakes of a lot of the games.
yes.
Because at some point, I want to say it was during the Ruby Sapphire time. Yeah, it must have been. Leaf Green and Fire Red came out. And it was just a remake of the first one, but it was with the graphics from the original game, which was incredible. Or with the
modern
Ruby Sapphire engine.
Yeah.
Incredible. I loved Fire Red and Leaf Green, which we have a good story about that one.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like the remakes almost started making it so you could actually feasibly get all the Pokemon, because now it's on a current thing. You can import from there. Because you had, Fire Red and Leaf Green were remakes of the first one. Then when Diamond and Pearl and them started coming out on the DS, you had Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Then you had... It was awesome.
Yeah.
Omega, what was it? Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire for the 3DS games. So it was like they started doing remakes of all this shit, and it was just cool. It was cool to see like the updated engines for, generations you may have loved.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they'd go any farther than those three, because those were the only...
Well, I don't think they will have to anymore, especially if they're going onto the Switch. That's not necessary anymore.
They did a black and white, too, didn't they?
They did Black, White 2.
Yeah, Black, White 2.
XY 2, didn't
No. Actually, I was just about to talk about that. Is you talked about the game topper for that generation, yellow and emerald and stuff. So you had yellow for the first, crystal for the second, emerald for the third, platinum for the fourth.
Oh, right, yep.
Black and white didn't. It went to black 2 and white 2.
Oh,
which
interesting.
was just a continuation of the story. If
Oh,
I
was
remember,
it?
I think so.
I wonder.
I skipped those because I was upset that they didn't just do the third game.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
they did 2 more, and I was like, I'm not doing.
They
that.
must have stopped doing the toppers at that point. Then platinum was the last one.
Yes, because was Giratina Diamond and Pearl?
Which one's Giratina?
It was like the dragon psychic something, I think, for that one. I want to say it was Giratina. Yeah, that's right, because Darkrai was black and white. Because Darkrai was introduced in Black 2 and White 2 because you went into the Nightmare Realm or whatever, the Dream World or whatever the fuck it was.
Oh, Giratina's the one with like the snake-ish almost body that had the many legs.
Yeah.
He was the ghost.
I think he was Ghost...
Because then he had his alternate form where he had no legs.
Yeah, it was Ghost Dragon.
Yeah, there we go. I remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he also introduced the whole I have 2 different forms crap.
Deoxys did.
Well, no,
He had speed
Deoxys,
form, attack form, and normal form, or whatever the fuck.
But he was also one of those ones you had to go to an event to get. He wasn't a normal...
Yeah. Ruby Sapphire was where I started to get kind of ridiculous with the legendaries and the mythicals. Because they just started introducing way too many. Because then Diamond Pearl took a step further. Now you got Heatran, you got fucking Spiritomb, you got just these schmuck Pokemon out in the middle of nowhere that are they're considered legendary.
Yeah. What's his...
It's not an actual thing in game. I think it became a term that fans use because there's only one of them per game. It's not an official term.
I suppose not.
With the exception of like the trios, I think those are the only Pokemon referred to as actual legendaries.
Well, did they make a delineation is where those are legendary and then there's mythical, which are like Groudon and Kyogre and Rayquaza? Are those considered mythical now?
I don't
remember how it is either. But X and Y, back to our other point, was the only one that didn't get another game. Because then it went to Sun and Moon.
Oh, that's right.
Then got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. There was no other game for X and Y, which was unusual because everyone thought Pokemon Z was going to come out for that.
Oh, because it's right, because the Zygarde was supposed to have his own.
Yes, that's what everybody was imagining.
Because he had like fucking 5 forms, something weird like that. He had a ton of different visual styles. Because he had like the dog form, the snake form, or whatever it was.
Yeah. Giratina was the one with the plates, right? That you collected throughout the world, and you equipped him with a plate. That's what it was, Arceus.
Because Arceus was the god Pokemon.
Aren't they all?
Well, but see, and that always cracked me up because Gen 1, Mew was like basically stated to be the ultimate Pokemon.
He's the Pokemon god.
Do you remember hearing about Pokegods?
Mm-mm.
In like Peekaboo? You never...
Yes! Oh my god, yes!
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, there was supposed to be and this was before the times of
That was also before they introduced what was it, Meryl?
Meryl and Azumarill.
Yeah.
That ended up becoming that's the design.
Yeah, Peekaboo ended up being Meryl. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I remember hearing about the Pokegods and thinking like, are these real characters? Like, are these real Pokemon that you can catch? And I remember going. I was actually with my mom, and we were getting like fast food at some place, and this guy was telling me like at the window about like. Because I think I was playing my game at the time, and he's like, "Oh, what you playing?" I'm like,
"You playing Nintendo?"
Playing. Stop it! Stop it! There's no such thing as Nintendo.
As a Nintendo.
As a Nintendo. So he's like, "Oh, have you ever heard of the Pokegods?" And like, I'm like,
what?
"No, what's that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, there's a Pokegod named Peekaboo, and this is how you get Peekaboo."
Remember that? Yeah.
And it was you had to like talk to the girl on top of the Pokemon in the Pokemon mansion or something like that.
I do remember that.
You had to give her like 50 lemonades or something like that, and then she would give you Peekaboo. And this was at a time where it's like basically, I mean, the internet was. It wasn't new, but obviously we didn't have this interconnectedness like we do now.
It was in the realm of the nude code. Where it's like you could literally couldn't confirm or deny it.
You couldn't confirm or deny it. So everybody always had these ideas that there was the Pokegods, and there was no way to confirm nor deny it because then people would post like, "This is fake."
Different versions of, "Oh no, this is not what you do. This is what you
exactly."
do.
And then there'd be people who are like, "No, this is a fake code. This is a fake code." And then somebody would post a picture of like, "Nope, this is what it is," and it ends up being like a picture of Meryl, but. In America, we didn't have Meryl yet, and so people in Japan were not talking about them.
I also think, didn't some of that spawn from promo art or something that was showing new Pokemon?
It may have been, and actually this kind of leads into another thing, too, is that the very first episode of Pokemon that we got, Ho-Oh was in it.
That's right, everybody thought it was Moltres.
And everybody thought it was Moltres because, well, I mean, it's a legendary bird Pokemon that has a rainbow following it. It sort of looks like... It sort of looks like Moltres. It must be Moltres. It wasn't. It was Ho-Oh, but that's because Japan had Ho-Oh first, and we didn't. We didn't get that until Generation 2, and so we were just like, well, what the hell is that Pokemon?
Yeah. Right. I remember that was a big thing, because isn't it a cultural thing? Ho-Oh is supposed to, like, symbolize the beginning of, like, a journey or something like that, the idea of Ho-Oh behind it.
I think it has something to do with Shintoism. It's something to do with luck or a blessing. Tim would know better than I would, but...
Yeah. Damn it, Tim! Where are you? Tim always comments anyway. Tim, comment, what does Ho-Oh mean? Jesus. Oh, it's a palindrome.
It is a palindrome.
But, yeah, I just thought that was interesting that in my research, X and Y was the only one that never got a top.
Yeah, that is strange, because you'd think it would have been rife for it, because, you had X, Y, and then obviously Z would have made the trifecta.
That might have also been the point where they just decided that one didn't meet expectations the way they wanted to, so they just jumped to the next generation.
Maybe?
Or maybe
I loved X and Y,
or
to be
do you
honest.
think that they think they took it too far with the backstory of Pokemon, and they didn't want to kind of go back into that by reintroducing it to new players? Because honestly, the story is, I think, the darkest of the ones that I've ever played.
X and Y was what got me back into Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because I loved the new look. You could actually customize your avatar, which was awesome. It was something you could never do before.
Yeah.
Where was I going with this?
Got you back in.
I thought of something. Got me back in.
New types of new Pokemon you loved.
Yeah, Fairy actually started in X and Y, if I remember correctly, because you had Florges and all that. Even previous generation Pokemon got the Fairy type, like
got rebranded,
Snubbull, Granbull, Gardevoir became Fairy, Mawile was Fairy Steel.
Clefairy actually became Fairy too, didn't it?
Which made sense.
Which did
I think
sense.
Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff were Fairy. Now they were normal Fairy. Or maybe not. I don't fucking know. But, and yeah, honestly... little side note of that, I still fucking don't know what Fairy works on, other than Dragon.
Yeah, I think Dragon.
I can't for the life of me remember. I know Steel just destroys it, but it's like, honestly, Fairy still eludes me as a type. Other way. Oh, that works. But X and Y, I absolutely fell in love with the two mythicals. Xerneas and Yveltal were fucking incredible looking.
Which ones I can't...
Xerneas was like the deer with like the
DNA strands in its thing,
like the god of life and the god of
and then the one
destruction.
was Yveltal was the Norse bird.
Yeah. I mean, their designs were so
broken.
Yeah, because
like moved damaged and healed.
Palkia and Dialga, while they were cool, were like just kind of lame. Like, they were just... Their design looked... I mean, you got fucking schlong neck and fucking 12 head. Because Dialga's head looked ridiculous. But... So, like, when Yveltal and Xerneas came out, I was blown away. I thought they looked absolutely awesome.
That's right, because, yeah, I went with Yveltal.
Yeah, I had Xerneas. I loved them. It was the only game I've actually used the Mythicals in my party.
I did too in Sun and Moon, because I loved theirs as well. The lion and the bat.
Yeah, Solgaleo and Lunala.
Just...
But then... Like, Sun and Moon I played, obviously. I loved it. The whole idea of, like, the islands was kind of neat. But...
Sun and Moon, my only complaint with it, so much goddamn hand-holding in that one. For the first, like, 2 hours. It's like, we're gonna go walk in this circle, let me help you. This is how you turn left. I'm like, no! Just go!
This is what your Pokemon is! Like, that's pretty much what every game boils down to.
When they have 7 generations of Pokemon, do they feel that players need to have their hands held?
What I think they should do is they should be like, is this your first game? And if you say yes, have it go through like a tutorial section, and if you say no, just dump you right in and go.
Yeah, give you the story, no tutorials. You don't have a dumbass professor trying to hit on your mom the whole time, trying to lay that meowth. Just
that's Tentacruel's job.
But, like, that Sun and Moon was awesome. I did like Sun and Moon a lot. I love the idea of the Alolan forms.
Yeah.
How you had Pokemon from, like, Gen 1 that was now different, like Vulpix and...
Rattata.
Yep, Vulpix. Well, some of them were better than others.
Well, but
Geodude looked completely...
At least had new forms, is what I'm saying.
Diglett sprouting hair. Come on, son.
Yeah, that was...
Like, Geodude turned into Russian-ass Golem for some reason. Everything had a mustache.
Yeah.
Do you notice that? Everything had a mustache in the Alolan form. You're like, why? Eradicate looked like a big-ass hamster with the cheeks. I was like, I could have done away with it. But Sandslash looked amazing.
The ice forms?
Yeah. Executor... Well, I could leave because it grew a longer neck. So instead of being short, dumpy palm tree, he's a big, long, tall fucking palm tree. Except now he's dragon grass. But
why dragon?
I don't know.
They made him dragon.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay.
I don't know. He's like a land dragon.
He didn't need to be dragon, but
that was X and Y 2 also expanded on a lot of the other types. Like it felt like every game expounded on types. Like Ruby and Sapphire did much more for Dark and Steel with, Metagross and all them. And you had a lot of the, Duskull, Banette, like those types of Pokemon.
Ghost,
Shuppet. Yeah.
Because what's the female Frost one, too?
Frostlass?
Yeah.
That wasn't until Diamond Pearl.
Yeah, but that's the next one. Yeah, Glalie and...
Yeah, so like types that were kind of tucked to the wayside in the first 2 generations started coming more to the forefront, which then by the time you hit Black and White, get the fuck out of here. There was no holds barred. There were like 900 ghosts, a few of the old Pokemon sprinkled in here, but let's just focus on these 3 types. Because even Diamond and Pearl felt like it was a lot of ground, a lot of water. To me, it felt that way anyway.
For like the more common Pokemon, I suppose.
But X and Y felt like it expanded a lot on the dragon, and obviously you had fairy, so it made sense with the dragon and stuff like that. So it's like I like that they kind of rounded out the typing a bit more. But so from there we'll go to what would you change about the series?
The biggest
Gen 8 coming out on the Switch. What do you want to see?
The biggest change they need to do is they need to overhaul the weakness resistance system.
100% agree.
I am sorry, but when you can have Pokemon who end up being like 8 times weak to stuff, and then you add in like stab bonuses...
And held items that'll add increased damage, and moves that'll add increased damage.
It becomes to the point where like you're basically doing infinite damage to this Pokemon and it's just falling over dead. There's nothing they can do to resist it. And it's just... And then resistance is, like, some of them, like, okay, I'm resistant to this. They still one-shot me. How?
Honestly, the battle system is where the biggest overhaul needs to be made. Because you're right. At some point in these games, I want to say it's maybe around badge 6, maybe more so 7 or 8, it turns into one-hit slugfest. It's a one-hit wonder! Pokemon Stadium, there you go. But that's all it comes down to is how can I kill him in less than 2 moves? If I can't, it's pointless.
And to be completely honest, like, moves that slow or poison your opponent, when you're playing through the story, are basically useless.
Yeah.
You might as well just go all attack moves and then just pummel your opponent to death. And then, like, if you're playing...
Against a person, we can be a little more crafty.
Yeah, that's where, like, the competitive scene, I think, gets a little ridiculous, is, like, doing those, like, those leftover combo meals where you basically... you just heal yourself to a ridiculous amount, and you just wait till your opponent can't do anything anymore.
The stall kill teams with Snorlax, with leftovers, with recover or sleep and whatever, where you can just constantly.
Yeah.
They have so much fucking life, Chansey and Blissey and all them. It's like the competitive scene is interesting because they come up with some really interesting shit.
That they think of that I never would. Yeah, they're cool, but it's boring.
Yeah, and it's kind of pointless to do it in the story. The campaign, I guess, if you're gonna put it in
now, like,
terms.
would I want to see Pokemon go to, like, an action RPG system? I think that'd be kind of fun for a side game. I don't know if I would do that for the main games.
I feel like it should be more action oriented. I feel like Pokemon needs to go to, like, an active time battle system where, like, moves have a cooldown, so you're not just getting fucking rocked with thunder all the time.
Yeah.
Because then your opponents get into this mindset where that's all I'm going to use on you. You're weak to it, boom, here comes thunders, here comes thunders, here comes thunders, here comes, oh, max recover, here comes thunders. It's like, and it gets old. Like, but at the same time, the AI is so stupid because I'm asleep. Well, here's hypnosis. I'm already asleep. What are you doing that for? Here comes 9,000 tail whips, and you're not even going to attack me. It's like...
Yeah.
Here comes a rap.
Oh, fuck
Frickin'
rap.
hate rap.
But, like, I feel like the AI needs to be overhauled to where they're a little bit smarter. I'm sick of fighting fucking children with Weedles and Caterpies.
Well, that's, the maniacs and stuff that only have one type of Pokemon. 6 Magikarp. Really?
That's where I feel like this game needs to be overhauled a little bit. I want to see... Well, I have a lot for this, actually, so I'm going to let Paul go after my point, but I want to see smarter AIs with diverse things. Yeah. Like diverse Pokemon types.
I honestly, I would agree with that, is that I want to see smarter AI. One of the things that I never understood is the whole AI. Like, if you're asleep, why are you going to use a Pokemon to use, like... Or
bide.
Yeah, well, not even just that, like with Haunter. Why are you going to use Dream Meter on me when I'm not asleep? That's stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you even program it like that? Be smarter. And another thing is, I wish that, like you said with the Slugfest, I wish it would go back to more of a strategy-based battle system where I remember the original, like Generation 1, it seemed to, a lot of the time, it came down to paralyzing your opponents.
Oh, yeah.
It came down to poisoning them. Toxic is, I think, a grossly underutilized move, because that could destroy, regardless of if you have a weakness to poison or not, Toxic will affect any Pokemon, and it builds up over time unless you pull out that Pokemon or you cure it of the poison.
Yeah.
And I would just like to see more of, like, the strategy base coming back from it, other than just a slugfest of let me pick the strongest move that I can, and that's all I'm going to use.
Spam it.
Basically, I mean, that's
can't
why...
Blaziken in the game anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like, that's why I honestly feel like Ruby was... To me, I don't remember a lot of it because of the fact that it was so boring. Because I literally Blazikened, like, it's turned into a verb. I Blazikened the game. Like, that's it. I didn't need anything else.
He took it out of the system and Sky Uppercutted it.
I did. I was like, done. I'm done. Sky Uppercut. It's just, everything was just, it came down to a one-hit KO. I couldn't even catch Pokemon anymore because I was so far in the game. I was so far in the game where it's like I couldn't catch a Pokemon just by throwing a Pokeball at it without weakening it, but I couldn't weaken it because I was killing everything.
I see, that's where I will praise Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah.
Like, you see the Pokemon wandering around the environment, and it just has you walk up to and catch them. You don't fight them.
Oh, see, that's cool.
So,
That's
and then
cool.
you only fight other people, other trainers in the environment, and then the gym leaders and stuff like that.
But you gain experience by catching.
Yeah.
So it's like if
okay.
there's a Geodude wandering around and you catch it, it gives your whole party like 15 experience.
And if you
cool.
catching like multiple Geodudes in a row, it gives you more experience, and then it improves your chance of finding a shiny.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So
yeah.
you could
But
do the combos and then get those super rare Pokemon.
And then like you can actually transfer all those Pokemon to get like candies and carbos and irons and stuff like that. So like that was how there was a little bit of a tangent here. There was a guy who actually beat Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu with a level 3 Kakuna or Metapod.
Yeah.
Because all he did was sit there in the forest, catch Caterpies to get all these candies, and then he would just use all of the candies on Metapod, and Metapod was a beast.
And actually, I think he didn't he do it with Caterpie?
I thought it was a Metapod.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had Harden.
Yeah, it had Harden. So.
Yeah, so it knew Tackle and Harden, and that's all he needed. It was like a level 99, or no, it was level 3, but because of the stat boost, there's no limit.
It's an equivalent. No, there is a limit.
Was there?
It gets to the point where your stats hit the point where basically you're the equivalent of basically a level 100 Pokemon.
Well, I was gonna say because I thought that your
you're right, I'm
stats,
sorry.
like even though you can go up levels, like it can't. The stat boost that you get, the artificial stat boost, only have there's a ceiling to
The
it.
candy, it doesn't work that way anymore. It basically, it sets his stats to a level 100 Pokemon. He went into a random encounter, like the fights, and used up all of Tackle's PP.
Oh, so that he could struggle. Yeah.
And then he had Harden, and then he would just use potions to max out his
oh
thing.
wait a
so
minute, no,
when-
you can't use struggle as long as you have Harden.
Yeah. Well, and then I think he basically kept using Harden until all he had was struggle, and that's all he did. And then he'd heal or something like that. And he beat the Elite Four that way.
Oh wow.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of time
I mean,
consuming.
that's a lot of time, but I mean hey,
More power to him.
Yeah, good for him. I did the Ash challenge on Pokemon Yellow, and it nearly killed me.
Yeah. But you're right. AI definitely.
And I honestly, I wouldn't mind, because I loved the idea in Silver that they went back to Kanto. When you were in Johto, they went back to yeah.
Metroid.
Kanto.
Oh, we lost all your Pokemon in the travel. You have to start fresh.
No, I actually hopes for the series. I'm going to talk about that because I have a very, very good idea for that. That will never probably happen, but it would be cool. But I'll talk about that.
But yeah, so anyways, they went back to Kanto. I want them to, I would love for them to just revisit some place. Have, half the game is in this new location, but then the other half is traveling amongst, the different areas that you've already been to. Just kind of, I don't know. I don't know how to necessarily innovate that, but just in and of itself, having that extra level of depth to it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd say my biggest change is change the way gyms operate.
So they're not single type.
So it's not a single type. Yes, they oftentimes have double types, but it still has that one particular type.
Yeah.
And that always gets old to me.
So you guys just go in, oh, it's a
Yeah.
grass gym. I just walked in with one fire
Just gonna do
Pokemon and
fire.
roasted it.
Oh, there may be a fire fighting Pokemon in there, but who cares? Or
It's still-
a grass fighting. I'm sorry, like Breloom. Sorry, I still have fire. I'm gonna
It's
whoop
still
your ass.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still fucking it up.
I hate the idea of themed gyms. I feel like that idea is played out. Let's do. They have 4 Pokemon and they're diversely different with his staple. So the gym can be a ground gym. So his staple final Pokemon is a ground whatever. That would be fine. But make the first 3 Pokemon he whips at you something that throws you completely off guard. Hell, make it random.
Honestly,
Make
that's
a randomly generated gym.
with the exception of exclude legendaries and stuff out of it. Yeah, that'd actually
Yeah.
be pretty interesting.
I feel like that would be a really cool idea. So I feel like that, because they kind of broke away from the conventional gym in Sun and
Sun and
Moon.
Moon.
Sort of. You had to do a trial, and then you got to fight the gym leader. Bless you. But it was still it's a fucking gym. It wasn't.
It just
anything
wasn't confined to one building all the time.
No. Which, it was a cool idea. At least they're thinking outside the norm a little bit.
Yeah.
But that, I think, to me, would be the biggest thing I would love to see change. That and the battle system. I feel like straying away from this turn-based system, get rid of it. I say go to an active time battle system with move cooldowns. Maybe not necessarily being able to move around the field or something, because that might get kind of weird. But, like, just something to where if you're using Hyper Beam, like, it takes time to charge before you, and your opponent might get 2 attacks at you before you pull off the move. You know what I mean? So it's like, something like that would be really neat.
Well, they sort of do that with Solar Beam and with Hyper Beam.
But even Solar Beam and Hyper Beam, you can still evade them. You can dig. Your dig will automatically go first. You can go down, and then the beam shoots and it misses. Well, not always, I guess. Not always go first, but you can always, like... There's ways to evade it.
Well, and actually, though, if you miss it, then you don't have the cooldown either.
But then there was also ways around that. They introduced Sunny Day, which
Sunny Day was an instant solar beam.
What was it? What's the downpour? The rain.
You could. Thunder was an automatic hit.
Oh, yeah.
There was like move combos you could.
Where
do.
you change the weather
rain
and
dance.
Then...
Rain dance.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
Was it
Rain dance?
Rain dance.
Or if the opponent used minimize and you used stomp, it was a 1-hit KO.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one I remember very vividly.
Or an Earthquake with Dig.
Ruby and Sapphire.
Wasn't it Earthquake with Dig?
Earthquake with Dig was a 1-hit KO.
Well, yeah.
Which makes sense because they're in the ground.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would... Some sort of
nice little
overhaul.
touches like that would be kind of cool to see more of.
Yeah.
If you're within this condition and I use this specific move, it does an extra thing.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Some sort of overhaul to the battle system, I feel like, just to keep it fresh. Because, like, now you're 8 generations deep and nothing has changed. Mm-hmm. Which... Maybe that's what they're going for. I mean, it's a tried and true fucking formula. So.
And who knows, maybe it will change now that it's going to be on the Switch. It's going to be the first ever console release for the main series. So who knows, maybe they're going to throw in a lot of new innovations into it.
I would love to see them kind of learn from, what was the XD and Gale of Darkness.
Yeah.
Because, like, those were really interesting. What's the, is it Gale of Darkness, or was it where you steal the Pokemon with the Snatcher thing?
Yeah.
Where, like, they were cursed with the dark aura and you would purify them and like, turn them back to normal and stuff like that. That was a really cool touch.
Yeah, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, you started the game with an Eevee. And then you got to choose what stone you wanted, which is, I think, a genius idea. Yeah. Which is unfortunate that in Let's Go Eevee, you can't evolve them. So that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But makes sense because technically you couldn't evolve Pikachu into Raichu in Yellow either.
I don't think you can evolve Pikachu in Let's Go Pikachu.
I don't think so.
The only way, too, is to catch, like, the other Pikachus and stuff like that.
You'd have to catch a Pikachu and Eevee probably and transfer it over. But like I feel like starting a game with an Eevee would be incredible, and then you get to pick what you want it to turn into or whatever. But
although if they did that, I would hope they would streamline Glaceon and Leafeon's evolution.
I'm sure they would.
Because, like, the only way to get them was to go to that stone in the middle of that region and have them with them in your party.
Yeah.
And
then
you
had to, like, walk around.
And then Umbreon and Espeon were happiness, and then what leveled up at day or night. And
yeah, like, they started to get a little ridiculous with how things evolved.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because even Electivire, Magmortar, you needed to be in a certain spot at a certain time when they leveled up, and they turned into whatever. All right, so you mentioned the whole idea of the traveling to another region or whatever. Yeah. I thought this out. I have seriously put a lot of thought into this. I wanted to send the idea to Nintendo, but I never did.
Gotta interject. He thought a lot about it, Paul, which means we know it's going to be crap.
No. This is good.
No. Because this happens every time. How many iterations of, like, your card game or RPG Maker have you thought of a game or thought of a system and said, this would be awesome, and then you overthink it, overanalyze it to the point where you're like, no, this is garbage, I gotta scrap it and start from zero.
This is different.
And that's what he says every fucking time.
No, it's different this time, I promise.
Let's hear your idea, Capcom.
All right, so, what is there, 7 generations, which means there's 7 regions, right? Maybe narrow it down to the first 4. Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh. You got the first 4 regions. Because then Kalos was black and white. I don't even remember what the fuck X and Y was.
If you don't remember what Sun and Moon were.
I don't remember what Sun and Moon were either.
You already said it once.
Did I? Alola. Yeah, Alola. I forgot.
it's Hawaii, motherfucker.
Yeah, I forgot. Dude, why is X and Y, like... I can't remember what that one was called. What was that region? Oh my god, that's gonna drive me crazy. I'll look it up later.
Well, same thing with, So go ahead.
Black and white, I remember, was Kalos. Anyway,
Get your idea before you scrap it.
so let's just say the first 4 regions, all right? So pretty much the game does its introduction. Hi, you came to the world of Pokemon! And, you know, he does the whole spiel. You know, you pick your gender and your a little outfit, maybe your appearance. And then you pick a region. So you start in one of the 4 regions, right? So let's say I love Ruby Sapphire. We'll start in the Hoenn region, okay? You play through the Hoenn region like you would any other Pokemon game. Okay, you get in the badges, you fight the Elite Four, you're good to go. Maybe sprinkle an overarching story that's through all 4 regions, you know, whatever. So, alright, I beat the Elite Four. I'm the Pokemon champ of Hoenn. You choose your next destination of a region. So, let's say I want to go to Kanto. You can go to Kanto. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because unlike Gold and Sapphire, where you got to keep all your Pokemon, you still get to keep them, but now it's badge restricted. Because let's be honest, did the whole idea of the badge system even make any difference to you? We never traded Pokemon growing up, really. So
See,
it's
me
like,
it
well,
did.
it's not even because
I had Pokemon that outgrew my
I
badge
remember
but it never affected anything.
because I remember playing the game and trying to get as few badges as possible, yet like completing the game. And I remember getting
How's that possible?
well, it's like because you can actually instead of like getting
There's a couple of gyms you can actually.
there's a couple of
skip over.
gyms that you can skip like until the very end. Like you don't actually
Really?
have to. Yeah, it's
Because
it only,
they don't allow you to use HMs outside of battle. You don't have to go do them.
it only comes to the point to where you need to do the gym where it allows you to use strength outside of battle and one that allows you
Cut.
to use surf.
Wouldn't you need cut?
Yes.
Yes, well, cut, but I think you
Flash
get
you
that.
can avoid.
You get that after
Surge, isn't it? Or is he? No, that's.
no,
Cut you can use
it might
after
be
Surge.
it might be Surge, but I think
No, because cut you have to.
is it
You have to-
Brock? Is it Brock? The Pewter City? Then you can use cut. I think.
Nope. Brock gives you Flash.
Flash.
Flash
yeah.
was an HM back then.
Yeah, well, you didn't need Flash.
Misty then.
Yeah, it may have been Misty. But either way, I remember only having like 3 or 4 badges, but yet I had a Pokemon that was like level 50, 60. And it got to the point to where it's like, I had the badges where it's like they said, Pokemon under level 50 will listen to you. So that means that over level 50, they're going to be prone to not listening to you. I've never once had a Pokemon that has never listened to me.
Right.
Okay, so
that I own.
it
Right,
does
right.
not apply to Pokemon you caught at low levels and raised.
Oh.
What it
gotcha.
does apply to is traded Pokemon because they get the boosted experience.
Right.
Could actually outlevel your ability to control them.
Oh, gotcha.
And I remember
And I've had that issue with when mistrading me stuff.
I did too in Ruby and Sapphire because unfortunately my favorite Pokemon, Metagross, you don't get till the end of the fucking game. You get Beldum from I can't remember what his name, Steven I think his name is the leader of that game. But you get Beldum from him. Well, I always wanted to play through a game with Metagross, so I traded it to myself from Emerald to Ruby or whatever. And yeah, it got to the point where it wouldn't listen anymore, so I was like, dude, fuck this. It's like hitting itself, it's just flat out not attacking, it's just being a total
It's
idiot.
weird what it can start doing.
Yeah, it's really stupid. Like
Why? It's one thing to not listen to you. It's like, fine, I'm not going to listen to you. Let me hit myself.
The only thing it can't do is switch itself out.
That would be really funny if it could do that.
No, it doesn't.
Unless it has a move that it can switch out with.
But like, it would be like,
funny.
oh, it used this instead. Like, it just wouldn't listen. But it only applied to traded Pokemon. So like, the whole badge idea was dumb.
Yeah.
So let's implement the badge system to that degree. So now I played through Hoenn. I'm going to Kanto. Well, I can only, or hell, maybe you can just transfer regions anytime you want it. But still, those badge restrictions apply. You need a specific badge to have Pokemon in that region listen to you from any other region.
There is another way they could kind of do it without having to do it that way. They could, well, it would still be overpowered because it moves, but like certain MMOs have it set up where certain regions, or in some cases planets, are level, say, 1 to 20. So if you're over that when you go to that planet, your stats are dropped down to that level and locked.
I suppose.
So you could almost do it that way, but then again, you would still have these high-level moves that, might not balance out very well.
That's why I feel like the idea of that would come into play very well, because now it's forcing you to use a different party. Because that was the biggest problem in Gold and Silver is you could just use the
same
party. Yeah, that you wipe the floor with the Elite Four with in this new area, which all the Pokemon are dipped 20 levels back down. I couldn't catch a Houndour because it was so low of a level, and my guys are in the 50s.
Yeah.
So, like, they could do it that way, where, you know what, I'm getting sick of fucking Hoenn. Let's go to Johto. But now I have to use a whole new set of Pokemon. You pick a starter. Maybe you have a Pokemon or two low level from Hoenn that you can use there. But once it hits that level,
so it's
now
basically
they don't
just like putting the 4 games all into one. Like you're just playing them back to back.
Pretty much.
What you're doing then.
And then you have maybe an overarching story between the 4. Like this is the first region you beat. Now it'll trigger an event in one of the other. You know, so they could do it that.
There's kind of another way I just thought of they could do it. So. You pick whatever region you start in, and basically they have the map divided into however many parts they would need to per thing. And say you chose to start with Kanto. You can only go up to a certain gym, and then you end up flying to one of the other regions and doing one of their sections of the map, and you jump between them for the story. And then as you're going, you progress to different regions in part of each map.
I suppose, but I feel like that would be too linear. That would still force you to be playing out one story, whereas this one, you're free to choose your region.
Yeah, but it would still be linear, because you would just be like, oh, I'm doing all of this region, then all of another. Then all of another. It's all, no matter how, it'd still be linear. It wouldn't be, oh, I can just go explore like Breath of the Wild.
Well, no, but at least you still have the freedom to switch areas that you want to switch.
That would be an interesting Pokemon game.
It's kind of like Pokemon meets Mega Man.
Pokemon Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Well, could you imagine having a complete open world where you just you're allowed to go free roam and do things and have other people play online with you?
Never.
And then just have, well, you wouldn't have to have it online. But then have it so you're just in a big open world. You're allowed to go explore all of these randomized caves and stuff. But then have cities you can hit that have the gym. Mm-hmm. But then then have a completely free to play sandbox Pokemon.
Yeah, and instead of having the predetermined like battles with trainers and stuff along the way, the other people that you're battling are the optional battles that you could do against like
or you could play in an offline mode where you don't have to see other people.
I'm about to say you're just turning this game into like Destiny, but it's Pokemon.
But it'd be different because you'd still be catching them and you'd be doing stuff. Yeah. So
I suppose that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I could do that.
It'd be interesting because, like, say, part of your path is, or like, okay, I want to go this way, and then you hit a part in like a forest where, shit, if I only had cut, and I don't have the ability to use it,
and you could jump in.
I could no longer go that direction, and then have to find another path.
Yeah, that's
you could do a lot of really cool stuff with the Pokemon like that.
Yeah, or just even have a buddy playing with you who could cut it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kalos is X and Y's territory. Kalos.
I thought Kalos was black and white.
No, it's X and Y. It said Kalos is the area.
What was black and white?
Well, we didn't need to know that.
Because Diamond and Pearl was Sinnoh. I remember that.
Yeah.
What would... Kalos? Really? Ain't that a B?
So you're remembering the wrong game.
But yeah, I feel like that would be a really cool idea, is to just kind of have a more open of a choice between the regions. Because...
Unova.
That's what it was.
It's black and white.
Unova. Fuck.
There we go. Yeah.
That
Unova would have guessed it.
He's so stupid. That's right, because Black and White was the one where I fell off like really hard that I didn't even beat the game. I think I got maybe 4 badges in. I sold it. The first Pokemon game I ever actually sold it. I sold that in Heart Gold.
I know.
Wasn't that a mistake?
I know. Yeah, you did.
Because I just
beat yourself up.
Because Heart Gold and Soul Silver used the Diamond Pearl engine, and I despised the Diamond Pearl engine.
Really?
It was so terribly sluggish. I just hated it.
Sure.
I got to Heart Gold Soul Silver. Was there was a point where you went through? Was it? Nope. Silphco was the original.
Yes, it was. Yep.
There was a place like Silphco, I think, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and I got sick of it. I got sick of the game. I got sick of playing it, so I sold it. I said, I can't do this. But, yeah, I feel like that would be a cool idea, is to expound on the gold and silver idea, but make it feasible to where you could kind of travel between regions that you wanted to. What about you? A hope for the next game.
Or, well, for Paul's case, it'd be what big thing would draw you in for another one?
Well, he doesn't have a Switch, so nothing.
Well, I mean, that could always change though at any
That's
point.
true.
I mean,
Look, it only took Resident Evil for him to want to buy a PS4.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
You never
also
know.
too with the idea that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 coming out on the Switch, that would be a console seller. to me,
Really?
honestly.
Really?
Awesome.
I loved Ultimate Alliance 2. I love the first one. I love the second one even more.
love the X
And-
Legends 1 and 2.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
don't be
I
interested.
like Legends 2 a lot more than I liked 1,
Maybe
just
we'll-
because.
Juggernaut.
Well, no, because Legends 2 actually played a lot more like what Ultimate Alliance ended up becoming.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play those on the channel.
I would love
Because I think
to.
I have one
But,
for
um,
GameCube.
But 2009 is when number 2 came out, and so I mean it's literally been like 10 years since they've released an Ultimate Alliance. So
We have bad luck with games that release a
I
decade
know,
later.
I know. So we'll see how it
But
goes.
this is also a completely different company making it, and they know how to make games.
But to be quite honest, I would say if Pokemon did try, like honestly, like what we were talking about with Pokemon being almost like a Breath of the Wild, grand level kind of sandbox experience where you could then kind of explore all of the regions. You're not just locked into one. You can explore all of them. You can interact with other people throughout the world, or you could just play it on your own. Something like that. That idea of it, honestly, that would probably pull me in because I would like. You could not feel more like a true Pokemon trainer than if you were in this world. Basically, like, you are now in the story. It's not just you looking at a character in that area. You are in that area.
You could build the team you've always wanted to build.
Exactly.
Me with a Ninetales, with a Metagross, with an Aggron.
Having all the different
Yeah.
generations accounted for in there, yeah.
with Aegis Slash, just kind of
love
build a team. It would actually even go a bit further with that sandbox idea. Maybe you could even have, like, if let's say...
Could you imagine walking into an area and then seeing two Pokemon battle for dominance of, like, control of, like, an area? So,
That's
like,
what I was thinking
you
of.
could have, like, two aggressive Pokemon fighting each other and say it's, like, Houndour and something in the region. Well, Houndour wins the fight, so the other Pokemon now is now rare in the region for a little while, and then after
That
a
would be
timer,
cool.
they fight again, and it's random determined who wins, and then, whoever keeps winning those fights is who you see more of in the region.
Like, a shifting Pokemon territorial thing.
Yeah.
Hell, I would
That
say...
would be really cool.
Or you could even do something territory-wise, like, okay, so Primeape is known to have, like, a notoriously terrible temper. It's like, go through an area...
His region,
walking through his region, and just, like, you just get pelted with Primeapes because they literally do not want outsiders or they don't want people around.
You could almost do events like Destiny where Primeapes are running wild. Trainers go there and thin the herd.
Could
It's
you
almost
imagine?
like a population control.
Could you almost?
That would be really
a
fucking
nice
cool.
little touch would be like actually swim in the water and see Whale Lord in its full size.
Oh,
that would
You know
be
how cool that would be
Yeah.
to go into the ocean like with dive and just swim up next to this giant balloon.
swarmed
Yeah,
by
Lord.
Vespa queens.
Yeah.
You died. Just a blood splatter from Resident Evil 2 comes up. Just something eats you. Why do you do that?
Go into a forest that's infected with those what are those electric spiders?
Joltix.
Yeah, just Joltix.
Oh, God.
You were zapped to death.
You have Lyme disease.
That would only happen if you dealt with the deer Pokemon.
Oh yeah, Swashbuck or whatever.
Oh, God.
Sawsbuck.
But there's like a lot of cool stuff they could do with a system like that.
Maybe even something as weird as like how Pokemon Go does the gym system, where a certain team takes over gyms. You could have.
Well, they could set that up as a PvP aspect.
Yeah.
You're allowed to conquer a region as part of one of like the teams you join, and then
Yeah.
everyone from your team has to get together and battle it off, and try to take over the region again.
Yeah, even something even to earn the badges could kind of be something the same way, where you're fighting a local gym leader. Like you're appointed as a gym leader, and you go there and. Like, if somebody requests a challenge, you actually fight that person. So you're fighting somebody else for the gym badge. Mm-hmm. Maybe it might get dicey because people cheat.
Well,
so
that's
you'd
why
end
I
up
think,
with, like,
that's why I
somebody
think
being
the gym
cheap as
badges would
balls.
still have to be NPCs. But like you could have challenge missions where you could get, candies for stats or some like new clothes for customization and stuff like that. Because they would always, because then there'd be still a draw to actually winning. You get new items, you cosmetics for you or your Pokemon, or items, and
it would be such a cool idea. That's actually a really good fucking idea. Damn, you guys nailed it.
See, now Nintendo, listen to us.
Yeah, really. Come on, Nintendo.
Reggie, come on, hit us up.
What's his Reggie Flame?
Fiami.
It's Filamy.
Fiami.
It's Filamy.
Oh.
No, it's not. I don't know how to actually.
Oh, I was.
It's spelled like Filmy.
Yeah. It's Reggie Fiami.
Yeah.
What
a. Never mind. Let's call him a pretentious douche.
No.
He's not pretentious.
I know. He's actually a super cool guy.
I love Reggie. I think he is wonderful. If anybody could be the face of Nintendo,
he's a good choice.
Outside of well, no, not that. No, I was thinking like Iwata.
Oh.
If anybody could be the face, I'm glad that Reggie is, because Reggie is like, one example is like the whole Nintendo, the NES Classic Edition, where they knew that they kind of screwed up with the shortages and stuff like that, and Reggie said, guys, just please hold off, we're gonna make more, don't give in to the scalpers who are charging $300.
Yeah.
We're gonna put enough out there so that everybody who wants one will get one. It's just gonna take a little bit of time. And he was as true to his word, because you still find the NES Classic Edition on shelves.
They're easy to find now.
They are easy to find now.
Yeah.
The SNES, a little bit more difficult, but
give it time.
Again, but it's true. Like he said, don't give in to the scalpers, and I'm so glad that they knew what was going on. And they said, hey, don't do this. We'll make it so that it's out there. And now all those scalpers who bought all of these other systems and stuff, and now they're just stuck with them. It's like, joke's on you. I'm so happy. So I think Reggie's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. He's a good face for us.
Yeah.
I'm glad he is. All right, so we got that. So what are your guys' hopes for the series?
No, I would a game like basically how we described it. That would be the best thing I think Game Freak and Nintendo could do to make Pokemon feel fresh again.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me. Is I think honestly that's what my hope would be, is something in that sense, or something that is innovative to the point to where it gets me back into Pokemon.
It feels like a new game, not just a rehash.
Yeah, because that's why I'm not as into Pokemon as you guys are, just because it feels like the same song and dance every time they release it.
But see, I got a weird compulsion where
You gotta catch them all?
Well, yeah, there's that too. It's
like, Pokemon!
I'm an addict. No, I have this thing where, like, if I start a series, even if I don't really care for the series or the game, I have to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
I have that. And Pokemon's one of those ones where it's like, well, I've been playing it this long, well, why not just take the next one?
Yeah. I would say I might actually go back and try to find a copy of Black and White and try to play through it.
I don't think Black and White's too terribly expensive.
No, and that was one thing, is
they hold their price for
Pokemon
a long
games
time.
Really held their value.
I think XY are the only ones that didn't.
Yeah. Well,
newer ones, yeah.
Your Heart Gold, complete, $50.88.
Hey, it's $50 down from what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they were hitting like $80 at GameStop and stuff like that.
Heart Gold and Soul Silver at one point were triple digits.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's actually gone down a lot, and I wonder why. Because I think even Black and White and Diamond and Pearl, them are fairly cheaper now.
Mm-hmm.
Even like Red and Blue and those used to be kind of expensive, and they've kind of dipped down too.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's because they've hit that digital problem, because they re-released a lot of those games as digital.
Well, they did go up for a while when Pokemon Go was huge that first summer that they released it, because people then wanted to get into the old Pokemon games.
Or the people who played the old ones were suddenly like, oh, nostalgia, let's go back and play these.
Yeah,
exactly. And now it's kind of calmed down yet again.
Yeah, quite a bit. So. Well, shit. This is a long one.
This is a long one.
So
I just thought of another way that I think Pokemon could do an interesting type of game. Really wouldn't be for everyone, and I mean, obviously, Nintendo it probably couldn't be on a Nintendo system, but imagine like a VR Pokemon experience where we talked about that one VR experience where they have like the maze set up and you have the VR gear on and it looks like you're in the world.
Yeah.
Have a Pokemon theme park or something like that where you're doing something like that where you're walking around and it's a much more interactive version of Pokemon Go, and you could like have something you could save your data on and continue and go back and do stuff like this.
It's a real life Safari Zone.
Basically, yeah.
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
It'd be, but I mean, and it obviously would have to be some form of combination of like VR or augmented reality type stuff with like Google Glass or things like that. But that would be a way that they could do something more unique where now I've got this thing and I have to physically go and like interact with these Pokemon and do stuff. It'd be a very interesting side project, not a main series though.
Yeah, because even Pokemon Go, like, it kind of went the way of Pogs for a little bit, where it was huge for like a couple months and then it just died. But it still actually has surged quite a bit again. Like, it's come back.
It goes up and down a lot.
Yeah, but even that, like, it wasn't an original idea. That, what was it, Ingress, I think, was doing it before, and now you have a lot of games that offshoot like this, because Pokemon Go, I think, kind of jumpstart that idea.
Well, it's...
Because, what is it, Shin Megami actually does one. The Digital Devil something, I can't remember what it is, D2 something, but there's a Shin Megami, like, version of Pokemon Go now.
Is Nintendo doing what Nintendo does? Like, they used to be the innovators, but now they're very good at taking underutilized ideas and concepts and blowing them up.
Hey,
they're the Apple of gaming.
They're good at it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't hate them.
And that's like, I don't, as from the business perspective, I don't fault them for it because it's what gets their brand to continue, and it does get us great games for great systems. But at the same time, it's like, when the fanboy side of these companies is all of a sudden like, oh, they did this, and we're like, no, if you really look into it, they're not the first to do it, they just help popularize it.
Right. But that's honestly what's needed. It needs to happen. That's why you have so many like technologies and stuff that just don't take off. It's because nothing really makes it a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Switch, in and of it, Nintendo has always blown it out of the water with innovation as far as their consoles go. Are they the best graphically? Never. They've always been a step behind graphically, But
they also kind of focus on availability and family. Yeah. So,
but they've always been really good at taking, like, the Wii was innovative as hell. You had people who had never touched a console buying a Wii, like older people who did it for like the Wii Sports.
That's all they had though.
The Wii Sports.
Well, and that's still, I think, one of the highest selling games on the system, but it was packaged with so many copies with the system that it doesn't really count.
But that's what they needed. You know what I mean? And you even look at the Wii U, even though it was a failure technically, the idea of the tablet, or not the tablet, but like that controller that was the screen and stuff, was it was a genius idea. It hadn't been utilized very well, but it was awesome.
Good example. That's a great example of Nintendo taking another company's idea. Dreamcast.
No.
But now you got to say it's guaranteed. It's years of technological difference, but it is still this exact same concept.
I suppose to a point.
I mean, granted, like I said, there's massive limitations between the tiny little LCD and then, but it's still I have a screen in my controller that does stuff for the game I'm playing.
But what made the Wii U awesome was the fact that you could actually just turn it off the TV and play it on the tablet. So, like, if somebody wanted to watch TV, you could just play your game on the tablet, which was awesome. Not all games could do it.
Honestly, I think there was a couple that were locked because you needed
the inventory, which was on the controller. But even the Switch it's a genius system. It's a console handheld that.
To be honest, I really don't even use my Switch on TV mode very often. The only time I do is if I want to keep playing and it needs to charge.
I'm the complete opposite. I never take it out of the cradle. I play on my television, but I love having the option to take it out of the cradle to play it mobile, which is why Pokemon on the Switch is a genius move.
Yeah.
It's seriously, Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu are already doing gangbusters because it's a console but also a handheld.
Yeah.
So
it bridges that gap basically. Yeah.
Which is why they're not making any more mainline for the 3DS because what's the point? You now have
the portable.
To be completely honest, I would not be surprised if going forward they kill the DS line.
I wouldn't be shocked.
for the just going the direction of the Switch.
Yeah, maybe.
They're already looking at making a cheaper Switch come out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, within the next year or two, and it's not coming with certain things. I think it doesn't come with a dock or something like that. Like it's literally,
I have no idea.
It's literally just going to be the handheld with the Joy-Cons or something like that. I think is what they said, and it's going to be at a much cheaper price.
Well, it's $300. So
I think they're
the dock's only like $70, so it wouldn't
not
be that.
even that because it's just a chunk of plastic with a little board in it.
No, they're $70.
I know.
I
to
wanted to
manufacture,
buy
it's like $2.
Oh yeah, but because I wanted to buy a separate dock for like the power trip room or something, to where like I could take it out of here and put it in here, or you know, vice versa. But yeah, I never take it off the TV because I never really need to. Plus, I don't want to bring the damn thing anywhere. It's like,
Well, I
it's like
bring it-
$300 on this. I'm not gonna
I bring
outside. Are
it
you crazy?
here, and then like if I go to my aunt and uncle's for like a family gathering, I'll bring it there to play. But
Yeah.
I don't go outside to the basketball court like they show in the commercials and
Who
stuff
does
like that. But
But
get,
yeah.
get a group of people who are playing basketball and are all of a sudden like, oh my god, a Switch!
Well, this got weirdly off topic because, well, it stayed
No,
on
it's
topic
still-
for a little bit, but yeah, that's Pokemon. We didn't cover offshoots. Maybe we'll do that in a different episode. The card game a little bit more. We can expound on.
There's a lot though. I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
in and
Well,
of
that's-
itself is a whole
We
episode.
kind of touched on it at the beginning that Pokemon is just so massive of a thing. There is no way you could cover everything without having like a 24-hour podcast.
And to be perfectly honest, it's one of the few franchises like it. Even Mario, like,
Doesn't
they had some
compare.
offshoots here and there, but it doesn't compare.
No.
Pokemon has transcended so many genres that even Mario hasn't. I mean, Mario's maybe dabbled in one or two here and there, but Pokemon's done, like, what, 4 or 5 different genres now? You have the main
RPGs.
series. You got, so what was it? You got RPGs. You got Dungeon Crawler. You
Beat 'em
have
ups, because you had the one where you're the toys.
yeah.
It's done puzzle games.
Puzzle games. I'm pretty
It
sure.
did Snap, so I don't know what you would consider that. It's done
Rail shooter.
It's done a fighting game.
Yeah,
Pokemon
Pokemon
Stadium.
Tournament.
Pokemon tournament, yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
So I mean, it's
The only
honestly,
thing it hasn't done is a racing game.
give it time. So honestly like it's up there as like maybe one of the top 5 IPs in the world.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to say it would take us too long to cover everything now. So I think we'll call it a day.
There's
here.
one little side topic I do want to get your input on. So I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there is
Never.
something. Well, yeah, for you, probably for you too. But Microsoft is looking at expanding Xbox Live,
I heard, yeah.
and it's going to be going to iOS, Android, and
Switch.
they're talking about getting in touch with Nintendo to put Xbox Live on Switch so that crossplay can happen between all of these different devices. What are your thoughts?
To be perfectly honest, I
I don't
think
think
it's
it's gonna
stupid.
happen.
It's a
I-
stupid idea.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the cross, like the cross play that they're talking about, there's too few games. They're mainly talking about like Minecraft and Fortnite.
FPSs or arena battles.
Yeah, or arena battles. It's just I don't think that there is enough of a demand for it. It doesn't make sense at this point.
Well, the other thing I thought about it was Nintendo, well, Japan in general is still very like xenophobic. They don't like outsiders doing
Yeah, and
stuff.
I honestly
don't
don't
know
think-
if they would allow an outside company to like another country to do that.
And I think with the direct competition of Nintendo and Microsoft in that sense in the game arena like that.
Microsoft's not a competition for anyone.
Well, no, but they're still a big name
Yeah.
in gaming.
Well, of course, they're one of
I
the
don't
3.
think-
There is no one else.
I don't think Nintendo would ever. I don't think they would ever go for it.
To be honest, in Nintendo's aspect, I don't think Xbox would benefit it. I mean, look at what
No.
main games come out on an Xbox. It's
Well,
FPSs,
the big
arena
things that-
shooters.
The big things they weren't necessarily talking about games and stuff, but one of the big things they were talking about was
Like library?
network infrastructure, so better online, crossplay for friends lists, and voice IP and stuff like that Nintendo just cannot do because they do not have the backing for stuff like that.
To be fair, though, like, what games are people clamoring for to play with somebody on the Switch?
I don't know, but it's one of those things where
No, I think it's.
I think I think Microsoft is positioning themselves for the future of gaming,
I
and
was gonna
not
say,
for they're trying to get in the position for when things go basically to cloud gaming, and that is it.
See, I think that they're
trying to get ahead of the technology.
I think it might
branch out.
I think it might be the future of gaming, but at this point,
is it ready for it?
It's not ready for it. It doesn't make sense.
Feels like a desperation move, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I think Xbox knows they're getting beat by Sony as far as the PS4 goes, because they know they're losing that war.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you still have those Xbox fanboys that fucking absolutely talk nothing but shit about how great the Xbox One is, and I can point at my shelf and be like, look at the library. PS4 beats it hands down.
Yeah, and it's funny too because Microsoft has been going at this battle so long, and they think, oh, it's always been a two-legged race between Microsoft and Sony, and now with the Switch coming out, all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, Nintendo wasn't even in our crosshairs. Now all of a sudden, they might kind of edge us out as the number 2.
And then there's also Microsoft has been trying to get crossplay with Sony, and Sony's not wanting to play that way.
Why would you?
Well, because they got more of the market share.
Yeah.
So maybe it's one of those, the enemy of my enemy
is my friend. Yep.
But I mean, to be honest, if PlayStation and Xbox came together, Nintendo would have a fight or would have a struggle, I think, a little bit. But Nintendo, I don't think will ever go away. There is no way in hell.
And I can guarantee you that Nintendo and PlayStation would never be they would never crossplay.
Well, that never. Not after what happened with when they were supposed to make a system together.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also a regime change as far as those decisions made. So you never know.
No.
But I mean,
I still don't think it's going to ever happen.
At this point, I really don't think Xbox would be a benefit to either company.
No.
Because they're, like I said, maybe I'm not educated enough. I'm just kind of spouting my opinion. I feel like they're floundering.
Well, but you also got to, lately, Microsoft has been buying up a lot of the big-name independent studios.
That's true.
So they're trying to basically kick the legs from underneath Sony.
Yeah.
And Sony's not going to be able to respond to it because they can't. The only part of Sony that really makes money is PlayStation. Yeah. Their video, like from what I understand, their movie aspect and their technology aspect cost the company money, don't make them money. But the PlayStation brand makes more money than...
Yeah. Well, and even as far as gaming goes, exclusivity is a thing of the past for the most part.
Yeah.
If it's on Sony, it's on Xbox.
With the exception of first-party titles.
Yeah.
And that's why Microsoft has been buying these different studios, is because, hey, look, we've got more exclusive stuff that's going to be coming out this way, and Sony cannot get the rights to these things.
And I'll be honest with you, they played that song and dance years ago, too, and now look what happens. You still have that, games being released later dates. Maybe it might be a couple years down the road, but eventually it ends up on the other platform.
The only one I can think of that really did is Mass Effect, but not all of them ended up on the other systems.
Not all of them, but I mean, you got, this is kind of a bad comparison, but the 360, Last Remnant, what was the other one?
Vesperia, I suppose.
Vesperia is on the Switch now. Yeah. Actually, it's on all 3, if I'm not mistaken. So it's exclusivity kind of loses its effect because eventually they all come out for each other. So it's there really is no benefit to buying these studios because eventually they're going to part ways anyway because they always fucking do. And then they're just going to sell it to PlayStation or Nintendo.
Well, exclusivity doesn't make sense anymore now with third parties because if they are
technology is basically all the same on
no, it's because if you are making a game that it's a third party that makes a game that's exclusively for the PlayStation, they're losing the market share of the Xbox and the Switch owners.
Yeah,
they're not making that money. They're not selling those games for that.
Well, and see, it gets into a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, I suppose that'd be too much of a rant.
Yeah, this would be a whole nother topic in and of itself, but that's actually a really good question. I did see that thing with Microsoft and Nintendo. I think it's a dream, and I don't think it would. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen.
No,
I don't think it's gonna happen.
But holy crap! What a.
We always ramble on these.
We ramble.
Yes, we do.
But there you go. That's our episode on Pokemon Part 1. Pokemon Part 1. That's what we'll call this because Lord knows. We'll come back to the Pokemon
Lord knows
franchise.
it never ends.
So there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hit us up with a message to what's your favorite
What was your favorite generation of
There you go.
Pokemon?
Thank
What's
you.
your
Holy
favorite
shit.
Pokemon? Do you think that Ash was a good trainer? Or do you agree with us that Ash was probably one of the worst trainers
Probably.
ever?
Jesse and James were stronger than Ash.
Ash was ass.
He was.
Never made that joke before. That's
No, you have not.
the first person in the world.
It's really not that funny, though, so...
Shut the fuck up. Damn, screw you.
On that note,
Hit us up on Facebook.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Check out PowerTripGaming.tv. It'll take you right to our channel where you can watch all of our other playthroughs, our side quests, our other content, as long as catching the other episodes of our Power Trip Gaming Powercast.
That's right. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find us on iTunes or Stitcher or other various podcasting platforms.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's right.
Wobbuffet.
So that's Wobbuffet. Oh, I loved Wobbuffet.
Yeah,
Just
that's
because
right.
the female version was just Wobbuffet with lipstick. It was amazing.
And on that note, see you later.